Peace family, y'all know who it is. It's Dr. Bakari K. Lumumba, LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black Empowerment Initiative where we believe we could gain a competitive advantage while always betting on Black. Back once again in conjunction with Becoline Network, the Pan African social media extraordinaire, and African Centered News and Information. Before we get started, make sure you hit those likes up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Make sure you hit the notification bell, subscribe, and of course, donate. We're definitely happy to be back here on the eve of 4th of July. Well, many people call July 4th, and we're going to have a strong conversation. I think a very powerful conversation regarding what FBAs and the general public get wrong about Haiti. You see, there's a brother who already put a comment in here. He says there's no such thing as FBA. Millennials and Gen Z kids have brought into these grifters with their improvisational identity labels. The dummies get dumber and dumber daily. Overstood. So hopefully, if you're on the live, you can tap in and be part of the conversation. But once again, family, if you're watching, make sure you like, subscribe, share, thumbs up, and donate. You're watching LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black Empowerment Initiative where we believe we can gain a competitive advantage by always betting on Black, in conjunction, of course, with Becoline Network, the Pan African social media extraordinaire, and the home of African-centered news and information. So, very quickly, family, Black History Fact. We know we always drop today's Black History Facts, but today's Black History Fact was yesterday, July 2nd. Many of you may be unaware that, of course, July 2nd is the birthday of three, of course, great Black men. Thurgood Marshall, the first Black Supreme Court Justice. Many people may be unaware. Appreciate you, Mr. K. We know we're doing this show just for you based on the email you sent me. But make sure you put some respect on my name. Make sure you put Dr. Lumumba up there. Put some respect on my name, right? But also, many people may be unaware that Thurgood Marshall was the lead attorney on the Supreme Court case of Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas, right? So definitely want to give a shout out to Thurgood Marshall that, if I remember correctly, he's from Baltimore. So shout out to Charm City. Number two, of course, Patrice Emery Lumumba, my namesake, the first legally elected Democratic Prime Minister, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and then, of course, last but not least, Medgar Evers, who, of course, was the, if I remember correctly, Field Secretary or President of the Jackson, Mississippi NAACP. So definitely want to give shout out and love to all three of those great ancestors who, of course, were born on July 2nd. Of course, Medgar Evers and Patrice Lumumba were born the same day and same year, July 2nd, 1925. And Thurgood Marshall was born July 2nd, 1908, if I remember correctly. So definitely want to give a shout out to them. So yes, Mr. Sandman, you say Foundation of Black Americans, interesting title. I'm going to get into this. So there's a reason why we're doing this show and we're discussing this issue. Because I think I need to clarify my position on foundational Black Americans. As many of you know, I have an African name, Dr. Bakari K. Lumumba. However, I am an African American. I changed my name almost 20 years ago. Legally changed my name almost 20 years ago. I don't do pseudonyms, and my children have African names as well. So they were born liberated from the womb, right? But there's a couple things. And many of you may be aware this concept of FBA came up a couple of years ago. How long ago, I don't know. But I just think I need to clarify my position and why. And part of this, because I've had some exchanges via the YouTube streets where individuals identify as such. And one of the critiques that I received was, well, Pan-Africanists have a very strong critique of FBAs, but typically don't have that same energy for Black immigrants. I can't speak to that because that's not my experience. What I will say is, as a Pan-Africanist, one of the reasons I have such a strong critique of foundational Black Americans, individuals that call themselves as such, or even ADOS, is because of a number of reasons. One, they are, what I've experienced, it's just my experience, I can't speak for a macro level, but my experience, my interactions, they promote misinformation. Everyone I've come in contact with has consistently pushed information regarding Black history. Okay, you said he's founded it in 2019. Got you. Push information that was ahistorical, and misrepresented the facts. This is the problem that I have, particularly as a serious scholar and as an academic. This is extremely problematic to me. That's one of the reasons why I have an issue, and I have an issue with anyone, or entity, organization that would do that. But this is something that we consistently find with individuals that identify as FBA or ADOS. The second issue is, and you, as you all know, I've had individuals even on my platform, the consistent spewing of anti-Black immigrant rhetoric, oftentimes parroting white nationalist views of Black people, right? Extremely problematic. I can recall when I did a show back in November of 2025, where I was critiquing Snapshot. Shout out to you, brother, in the UK. Hopefully you could be part of this conversation. FBA, history buff, Google your files, not history buff bibliophiles. Overstood. Like that, Google your files. Okay, that's a good one. I'm going to have to use that. Promoting oftentimes talking points that are that in which they're parroting white nationalists, right? We saw this when all of a sudden they was advocating for Trump, who's a avowed white supremacist, right? This is a man who, in April 2024 interview with Time Magazine, stated, and I quote, "White people need reparations. Civil rights is bad for white people," right? So it makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, you said it really stands for Flex's bank account. Got you. So that's an issue. We talk about promoting stereotypical views of African or Black people that, of course, derive from the Ma'afa, the concept and idea, really simplistic understanding of history. Typically, when we talk about Haiti, they didn't just go back in and get their country together, right? When the reality situation is, or they can't govern themselves. This is something I've heard members of that cultish worldview, which of course is a parroting of the stereotypes that came out of the Ma'afa, that the reason why we had to enslave and colonize these peoples is because they lacked the capacity and ability to govern themselves, when in reality we were governing ourselves just fine before there was foreign intervention or disruptions. So those are issues that I would have. One, you're promoting claims that are ahistorical and averse to facts. Two, you're parroting white supremacist views of Black people. You're, of course, promoting and articulating anti-Black stereotypes, right? That's a problem that I'm going to have. Now, if I've asked these questions of individuals who identify as FBA and ADOS, some of the questions I've asked is, what are you doing in the community to benefit African people socially, economically, and politically? And I have yet to receive an answer. I had an exchange with an individual on YouTube. The response was, well, what you should be telling me is why what we're doing, our advocacy is redundant. I said, no, we're not going to get into that type of game where you're engaging in a red herring. The question is, what is it that you're doing as an organization or as a group to materially improve or tangibly improve the material, social, and economic and political conditions of African Americans? You don't get an answer. So that's the issue that I have. I don't have an issue with individuals identifying as however they want to identify. You could identify as FBA, you could identify as ADOS, you could identify as queer, you could identify as trans. I don't have a problem with that. My concern is when you're promoting information or you're disseminating information that's adverse to facts. For example, there was a situation where when I was African history at Columbus State Community College, there was a student who were trans. The student made some claims about African history that were adverse to facts. And so I said, hold on, I have to stop you right here because the things that you're saying aren't true. So that's my issue. One, you're providing information, disseminating information to individuals that are ahistorical. A good example was when I did my interview back in 2022 with Afro Elite. And he claimed that Black people were only people who face racism in America. I said, well, that's just completely false, right? Native Americans face racism, boarding schools, Trail of Tears, reservations, right? Ethnic genocide, settler colonialism. Asian Americans have faced discrimination. We're talking about the Asian Inclusion Act that was passed by Congress, and Latinos as well. His response was, well, you're just trying to take up other groups of people. I said, no, you're on my platform. You made a claim that's adverse to facts. And as a serious scholar and academic, if I don't correct you, that hurts my credibility. You see what I'm saying here? So it's almost to the point where we're going to, from my experience, and then you could say it's small, it's anecdotal, we're going to promote information to people who are uneducated, but in part, we're going to tell people what they want to hear. And because they don't know any better, they're going to believe us. So something to consider. Kevin, aka Mr. K, says FBAs are basically creating their master narratives based on pseudo information. Overstood. So these are particular issues. When you talk about FBA stands for Flex's bank account, part of that is when you go to the FBA website created by Tweet Machine, it states explicitly this is not a political advocacy organization. It states, once again, this is not a political advocacy organization. But what we do find on the website are an innumerable amount of products that you can purchase from him via drop shipping, right? So we see what the grift is. It's to make money by, of course, promoting and selling division. Last but not least, another issue that I have with FBA is that what they're really promoting is a form of African American tribalism, right? Which is extremely problematic, but they punch down rather than up. So instead of addressing the entity or peoples or structures that are responsible for our structural and institutional, social, political, and economic quagmire, no, we're going to actually attack people who have no control over the issues that we face, right? And that of course, is Black immigrants. Now, all Black immigrants down for the cause? No. All African Americans down for the cause? Absolutely not. We know coming out of the Ma'afa, there are basically three Black personalities. You have the integrationist, you have the nationalist, or Pan-Africanist, and then you have the conservative. So something to consider there. But to make blanket statements about the entire demographic of people, I think it's nonsensical. One of the talking points that was promoted was they're fleeing, they're running from the white supremacists in their country. And the argument, in fact, that Afro Elite made was that we don't run, we stand and fight, right? And I say you're quoting the Jay-Z line, "Ho's a soldier, Ho been fighting all his life," right? The reality of the situation, I said, well, one, that's versus the facts. A great example of African Americans fleeing racial terrorism is what the Great Migration, 1 and 2, right? Another example would be is that since Paul, you found every generation of African Americans have sought a reprieve from the injustice of anti-Black racism in America and was sought to repatriate to Africa, right? So the claim they're making, of course, is versus the facts, right? And there's a great book by Robert Johnson called "Why Blacks Left America for Africa," right? And it talks about that. And he breaks down each since Paul Kufi leaving. In fact, my senior thesis was on that very topic, African American repatriation to Africa, right? And so I had to actually review the history of how long that we've been seeking to, of course, return to the continent since we arrived in the depth, decadence, and dysphoria of the Western world, particularly the United States of America. So once again, we're talking about pseudo-information, misinformation, or half-truths that individuals typically buy into. So something to consider here. Let's see, the day FBAs established their own FBA community, sovereignty, like the Native Americans have their own community sovereignty, through the day that delineation is official and legit. Overstood. So that is an issue. The second issue, and I'm not going to play the video that you sent me, Mr. K. I'm just going to have the conversation because it's difficult for me to get through just because of the nonsense. So some of the talking points is really pushing back and arguing that Haitian people politically are simply incompetent, right? Some of this comes as a result of Haiti being forced to pay an indemnity to France for the property that was destroyed during the revolution. When I watched the video, the sister, I think somebody said that she's either the daughter or daughter-in-law of Judge Joe Brown. She talked about that it was nonsensical, right? They defeated the French. We know they didn't just beat the French, they beat the French, the British, and the Spanish in succession, and then the French again. But they capitulated that demand by the French imperialists as a result of facing gunboat diplomacy. So what do we mean by that? That means when you're dealing with imperial power, they show up in bad faith with naval ships, with naval warships pointed towards the capital and say, if you do not sign this, we're going to blow you to kingdom come, right? That is where that came from. So context would matter. This was not something done because they were simply incompetent. This was something that was signed under duress, right? Something to consider. The second issue, when we talk about some of the contemporary issues in Haiti, we have to go back and look at history. The fact that after Haiti, of course, gained their independence, claimed their independence, 1 January, 1804, the world, particularly the Western powers, refused to buy, sell, or trade with Haiti. So even though Haiti at the time, at the start of the revolution, was known as the Pearl of the Caribbean, it was the wealthiest colony in the Western world, right? Many of you may be unaware of that, but that is the reality. They had goods and products that they could not sell on the global market. We're done trying. We're done. Stop trying to sell us on you. I don't know what you mean by that. Tap in, be part of the conversation. The link is in the description. I'll put the link in the chat as well. But before we get the conversation started, I want to make sure we go with some of the ground rules here at Lumumba Speaks. So, number one, many of you may be unaware. This is your first time tapping in, but a couple of things that we're going to cover here at Lumumba Speaks in terms of how we do things and how we run, of course, our operation. So, diversity of thought is welcome. You can tap in, be part of the conversation, irrespective if you're on the left, you're on the right, or you're right down the middle. You're here to we can have that conversation. We believe that, of course, one of the ways you grow and develop holistically is by having your views challenged. Number two, no racial epithets of any kind, no epithets of any kind. This is a space of Black empowerment. We believe in 3 N's of Black power: self-respect, self-defense, and of course, self-determination. Number three, facts over feelings. Okay, so if you disagree with someone, you attack the argument, not the person. This isn't junior highs. We're not going to engage in sophomorish antics or behavior. You attack the argument, not the person. This is how you have an actual intellectually honest conversation. And then number four, last but not least, no fundamentally false statements. So if you disagree, right, you can provide your opinion, but you can't make a claim that is patently false. For example, if you were to state you believe LeBron James is the greatest basketball player ever, but you state is because Michael Jordan only won 2 scoring titles or 2 championships, that would be a fundamentally false statement. And I'm going to pull up like the Sandman from Showtime at the Apollo, and I will have to correct you. And last but not least, our mission is neither to exonerate or vilify, but to challenge conventional wisdom and re-examine what has previously been accepted as fact. So, links in the description. I am the Storm. You're more than welcome to tap in and be part of the convo. Very quickly, you do not have to cam up to be part of the conversation. So just want to make you aware, you do not have to turn your camera on to be part of the conversation. And you can use a pseudonym to protect your identity. I have no problem with that. I understand for many of us, we have jobs, and oftentimes discussing hot button political topics can, of course, cause issues for one's livelihood, right? So don't want to get anyone in trouble. You can, of course, keep your camera off and use a pseudonym. So yes, classic case of the West, weaponizing their foreign policy against the global South, Haiti included. Yes, very much so. This is something that took place, right? That really put Haiti on a position, of course, unfortunate poverty. Second issue would be in the 1880s, right? The United States stealing gold from the Haitian National Treasury and then putting it in the bank in New York City, right? These are issues that took place that, of course, the general public are unaware of. That plays a role in the condition that Haiti is in today. We talk about the U.S. occupation of Haiti by the 1915 to 1934. We're talking about the system of forced labor. We're looking at, of course, them killing off the local population, dropping bombs on entire villages, deleting over 15,000, maiming tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, and then also restructuring the Haitian economy from being independent and self-sufficient to being dependent on U.S. Multinational corporations, and rewriting the Haitian Constitution. All these things took place within that 19-year period of U.S. occupation. So these are things that have played a role. Then we move forward with Papa Doc and Baby Doc. We know that these were, of course, autocratic dictators. But here's the biggest issue people don't know is that they were being funded and supported by the United States because they claimed not to be communists, even though they were engaging in, if I remember, maybe 27 years worth of human rights violations, right? It didn't matter that they were actually killing and deleting their own citizens, engaging in just an ungodly amount of human rights violations. But because they say that they were anti-communist, the United States government backed down. But then, of course, we could even talk about, of course, Aristide, the first legally elected Democratic president of over nearly 30 years in Haiti in the early 90s. And because he was making, of course, a number of social reforms and economic reforms, of course, there was a coup led by um, the head of the United States, head of the Haitian military, Raoul Cedras, right, to remove, of course, Aristide from power. And then we know later on, Cedras actually was paid $1 million by the United States to actually leave Haiti and move to Panama, and then, of course, uh, reinstate Aristide as president. And then, of course, Aristide was actually in 2004. He was, if I remember correctly, please forgive me, family. In 2004, Aristide, of course, was, for many people, they argue, in particular, I'm quoting Dr. Jamia Pierre, handcuffed and arrested by U.S. Marines, put on a plane and flown to the Central African Republic. And this is really where we find really the dissolution, not dissolution, but the devolving of Haitian civil society from that moment. So we really look at, Western imperialism, right? That's played a big role in terms of Western imperialist foreign policy, playing a role in why and undermining Haiti's sovereignty. We know Haiti's sovereignty has been undermined since they declared independence. So these are some of the issues that most people do not talk about. This here, actually, good brother Doctor, the story of reparation is that the mulattoes mixed population of the Haiti government in the South agreed to pay the European fathers a reparation. No, I'm quoting correctly. It was under duress. Yes, it was a result of gunboat diplomacy. This is the reality of the situation. And I do know there are issues with the mulattoes being in positions of power, holding wealth and resources against, of course, the Black African Haitians. But it was under duress. So this is a reality. By the time that agreement was signed, Haiti had reunified. There was no longer a Southern Haiti in Kingdom of Northern Haiti and the Kingdom of Southern Haiti, right? Because what you're referring to was the Kingdom of Northern Haiti when it was under the leadership of Henry Christophe, right? So I think you're a bit off base there, respectfully. It was not so much the rest or other fears, though there was a full onslaught colonial embargo against the young African nation of Haiti. Yes, there was an embargo. Yes, Professor Lungwa, I take it Haiti never industrialized itself, right? That's not something I would say, right? What we do know. My apologies, family. You're having some technical difficulties. So one of the things that we do find is Haiti, of course, was not on the level of industrialization that we're accustomed to here in the Western world today, right? We talk about in the mid 1800s, much of the world was still seeking to industrialize, right? What we do know is that Haiti still was economically and agriculturally self-sufficient until, of course, the invasion by U.S. Marines in 1915. A good source is the colonial system unveiled that gives a good predicate. So once again, family, the link is in the description. The link is in the chat. You can tap in and be part of the conversation. Mr. K, I need to know when you're going to pull up and be part of the combo. I definitely need to know that. And I want to share this clip from Nefa. Yeah, I'm having some technical difficulties. Right, the Southern Kingdom was led by Boyer, who was a trader and mulatto, took over the Northern Kingdom, and this ran all that progress after the death of Christophe. So there's a couple things, right? We know Christophe, he committed suicide, he deleted himself. So, and of course, one of the issues that a lot of people had, this is after, of course, Dessalines was assassinated, was in the North, they reinstalled the agricultural system, right? The plantation labor system, right? And so, and if you was in Haiti post independence, you basically had two jobs. You could be either a soldier or you would be an agricultural worker or laborer. And so, of course, if I remember the literature I read, individuals are getting up maybe 3, 4 in the morning, right, working, and then by noon or 1 o'clock they were done with the day's work. And so many felt that they simply were engaging in, once again, the same type of enslavement or labor system that existed prior to, of course, the revolution and independence. But if you're referring to Boyer, if I remember correctly, but he was not the one who actually signed the a payment agreement with France, the indemnity. But once again, it was due as a result to gunboat diplomacy. So something to consider. And of course, you were, matter of fact, when you stated that there was a colonial embargo against Haiti. So something to once again consider, because at the time, all of the nation states, colonialism was in its throes. Well, not fully in its throes, but the world economy, of course, was shaped by, of course, Western imperialism and, of course, chattel enslavement. Haiti is on the prohibited travel list in the UK. Is the same for the USA. I would like to visit this. Yes, it's same for the United States. So this is another great point, because one of the things they're arguing, and we're seeing this from, of course, MAGA Republicans, but even FBA and ADOS, is the argument that Haiti isn't any more dangerous than Memphis or any other city where there's known for being violence in the United States. And I always tell people, one of the differences, you're not prohibited from flying to those cities, right? Per, FAA, right? It's not on the prohibited travel list not to go to Detroit or Memphis or St. Louis, right? And so that is an issue to consider. The second issue, when people talk about the nation state of Haiti being ran by gangs, that is a bit of a falsehood, right? It's not a bit of a falsehood. It is a falsehood. The reality of the situation is these are paramilitary organizations from which they are being armed with semi-automatic and automatic machine guns, right? And these weapons are being smuggled in, right, by imperialists. And part of the research that we found, now, I might even, if I have an opportunity, an article written by Dr. Jamila Pierre, where she talks about why these weapons are being smuggled in, where the gangs are engaging in this type of violence, right? And they're not doing this to the wealthy who live in the suburbs of Port-au-Prince, up in the hills, right? They're doing this to individuals who are poor, and this is a result of multinational corporations wanting to actually clear those areas out to build factories, right? So it goes much deeper, right? So when people say, "Oh, you should just go there and fight back," well, one, they don't manufacture any weapons in Haiti, right? And as we know, it's very easy to foment violence, civil unrest with people who are poor, right, and undereducated. And we find this in the United States amongst our people on a regular basis, right? Same thing happening in Haiti. Now, personally, as a Pan-Africanist, I want to see Haiti be great. I want Haiti to be great again. But I also am aware that many of the talking points that people provide regarding Haiti and what needs to be done are surface level at best, right? You could send all of the brightest minds of the Haitian diaspora to Haiti. It's not going to change the fact that we have Western imperialist nations undermining Haiti's sovereignty. It's not going to change that. One of the reasons why there was a coup that was supported by the CIA, right, of Aristide, is because Aristide was not willing to pay to be the he was not willing to do the bidding of American economic imperialism. He wasn't willing to play ball with Western companies. And that was one of the reasons why the United States supported the coup. And we know this because the SIN, which was supposed to be an intelligence agency in Haiti, was funded by the CIA. And they were the ones who not only supported the coup by the head of the commander of the armed forces in Haiti, but they also were engaging in drug trafficking and terrorizing supporters of Aristide after the coup removed him from office in the early 90s. This is all historically factual. These are all things that you can do an actual in-depth research on and find to be true, right? This isn't a situation in which, oh man, the situation is they just can't handle their business. They don't know how to govern themselves. No, their sovereignty is being undermined, right? This would be analogous to, let's say a man is in his home, he has a family, and let's say the man is married and he has 3, 4, 5 children, and the children are misbehaving. They won't do what he tells them. And then we find out that what the reality situation is, there are individuals, just say at the school, we just use the school for an example, who are paying the top dollar to undermine their father's authority because the father's promoting black radicalism or pan-Africanism. This is analogous to what's happening in Haiti. The second issue is that we find that the Western world has always wanted to punish Haiti as an example of what would happen to African people if you ever had the gumption, the unmitigated gall, the temerity to want to what be independent and self-liberating. So we have to realize that as well. So let's see here. Two key aspects. One under Henry Christophe the French, who came and asked, demanded reparation for judge, condemned, unalived, and imprisoned, while those Frenchmen were well received and dined. The FBA is also uneducated on the pragmatism of the military-industrial complex by U.S. imperialism. So I would ask you this: can you provide me an example of where you received this information? So you're making a claim here. Can you let me know where did you get this information? And we can have a conversation with Southern Kingdom leaders. I love what you are distilling. However, the issue of reparations is very important because it underscores the revolution. I would agree with you. I agree that it underscores the revolution. Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. But I know where you're getting that information from. 100%. Mr. Sandman, shout out to the 215. You know, saying your boy Boots Ennis really showed up and held it down. That he was, of course, the Broad Street bully, but he got to tighten up that defense, stop being lazy, because when he fights better guys, he needs to be focused all the way through if he's going to be an ATG. Very quickly, a quick Google search will tell you that Jean-Pierre Boyer, he was president of Haiti who signed the agreement. Yes, he sure was, under the threat of French naval attack. That's what I stated. It was due to what? Gunboat diplomacy. So we're actually on the same page. Mr. Sandman, what's the word?
Hey, what's the word? Can you hear me?
I hear you just fine.
Oh, great. Yeah, because I had my my headphones in. I didn't know how clear they were. I'm glad you can hear clearly. Yeah, yeah, man, Boots Ennis, man. Congratulations to the young man. He's tearing it up, doing his thing, you know. But yeah, I agree with the defense. You know, he's more of an offensive fighter. He has like a lot of skill offensively, and he has a lot of courage and bravado. But he does does doesn't seem to pay much attention when it comes to like protecting his head. So when he gets in there with some of the more talented fighters, if he ever moves up, he might have some issues. Crawford, Canelo, things of that nature, guys.
Well, Crawford's retired. He's not going to fight anymore.
He's not even going to come out of retirement for a big fight like Boots?
No.
Well, what about your man? Mayweather. He said he's coming out of
Floyd
retirement.
Mayweather's almost 50 years old. That's not going to happen. But let's focus on the topic at hand. We're talking, of course, Haiti, what FBAs and the general American public about Haiti.
Yeah, you know, I'm not like a huge historian on the revolution of Haiti and know everything about its history. But so I don't have like any real strong opinions on the situation. I just noticed like um, how did it come about? So some of the things that comes to mind when we talk about this particular subject makes me think about how did the French, I don't know how to say this without making it too offensive. How did the French lose control of Haiti to the point that it allowed, you know, Africans to revolutionize and take over an entire?
Well, yes. So that's a great question. Well, one of the reasons why the Haitian Revolution was successful is because enslaved Africans outnumbered white Frenchmen for French people in Haiti by 4-1.
Mm.
Yeah, so by sheer number, demographics, that we outnumbered them 4-1, and that's one of the reasons they were able to, of course, defeat the French.
Okay, so
and that was one of the differences regarding why the revolution was successful in Haiti and why many revolutions in the United States were not successful. If I remember correctly, there was only 2 states in which enslaved Africans and their descendants outnumbered whites, and that was Mississippi and South Carolina. Every other state, we were outnumbered times 3-1, 4-1, 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the reason was, of course, not, and also it was the military brilliance of course, the Santla Overture, right, and of course, guerrilla warfare tactics as well. and of course the practice of scorched earth. So those things played a role in why they were able to defeat Napoleon, who was considered at the time to be the greatest military mind of the day.
Right. Yeah, because Europeans are known for being uh, into warmongers, and you just notice like all the history of all of the wars that have happened on the continent of Europe. You
Yes.
wonder like how they
And,
allowed.
well, it's not even allowed. I mean, they had no choice. It was get down or lay down, right? But here's the second issue.
Right.
When we look at the history of colonialism or the attempts to colonize, Africa, we find that the Europeans were getting their derrieres kicked for nearly a century into the creation of the gun. So, from a particular historically, when we look at their fighting acumen, they weren't great. They simply
Mhm.
started winning once they had better weapons.
Right. Yeah, superior firepower.
Yeah,
Okay.
superior firepower rather than their actual capacity to defeat one in battle.
Right. Yeah,
And we're
that's
talking about the
that's
creation of
important.
the Maxim gun in the late 1800s.
Yeah, the Gatling gun is like a rudimentary machine gun, so to speak.
Yeah, the Maxim gun. That's very quickly, Mr. K. FBAs love to talk about fighting, but are completely clueless about the strategies of how to fight based on their uneducation on military science. And Lumumba, as you used to be in the military, you know the significance of knowledge in military science. Absolutely. One of the, and I'm glad you brought that up when they talk about we go back and fight. Well, if you don't have a background in, of course, military science, guerrilla warfare, urban warfare, you're not going to last very long. I, like I say, fortunately or unfortunately, went through that type of training, and I don't think it's something most people will want to do. I'm just going to be quite honest with you. I know what it's like to be out in theater 3 weeks at a time. You're eating MREs. You're living off the land. You haven't taken a shower, right? I know what that's like. I've actually gone through that, right? I don't think most people, based on the comforts of life, uh, would be able to engage in that type of struggle, right? A great example I think of is Che Guevara when he went to the Congo to try to help liberate the Congo, and they show up. They go into the Congo from the eastern Congo. They cross the lake in Tanzania to get to the Congo, and he says the contact that they're supposed to meet up with shows up drunk with two prostitutes, and he said he knew right there these people this guy is not serious about revolution.
Hmm.
Right. And like I said, I can say this because I know what it's like. I was a sergeant in the army. I know what it's like to be responsible for the lives of junior enlisted soldiers. I know what it's like to be the P's and Q's, discipline, everything to make sure that you keep people alive. Right.
Hmm.
And so once again, I argue that this is nothing more than armchair guerrilla warfare that's being promoted by a lot of individuals online. Many individuals have no background in military science, no background in weaponry, no background, right, in, excuse me, urban warfare of any kind whatsoever. Many of these individuals don't even own firearms. They haven't even gone to the range. They don't know how to clean the weapon. They don't know what to do in the jams, right? But of course, the rhetoric, of course, is being promoted as to really, and part of it is to try to say that we're better than you because, of course, we have American passport, right, American nationality. But uh, these are the issues that I have, right? But once again, we're talking what FBAs and the general public get wrong about Haiti. Another thing that we find being promoted is this concept of Haitians bringing HIV/AIDS to, of course, the United States. We know that historically, HIV/AIDS. The argument was that a monkey bit somebody on the butt in Africa, and this is how AIDS was created. We know that's absolutely nonsensical. There is significant documentation to suggest or aver that HIV/AIDS was created in a laboratory by the United States government. We're talking about the chemical weapons depot, I believe, in Maryland, USA. I would argue, and there have been some studies to show that, of course, HIV/AIDS was brought to Haiti by outsiders, and many consider outsiders to be, of course, members of United States foreign intelligence. So, hoodoo in Louisiana, voodoo. What say you?
Hey,
What is good? Happy Pan African Friday to you.
likewise, appreciate you. And I'll try to keep it brief, but I don't want to mischaracterize your stance. And I'm respectfully asking, what do you think the FBA has wrong about Haiti?
Well, yes, there's a couple things. So I've watched a number of videos, right? One of the things that they tend to get wrong is making the claim that Haitian people lack the capacity to govern themselves, right? To actually foment civil society. We know that anyone who's done I would even say a cursory dive into what's going on in Haiti would know that this is being fomented by, of course, Western imperialists. Haiti has always had its sovereignty undermined by Western imperialist actors since they, of course, declared the independence in 1804. This is a reality. I actually have an article here, and I'm going to share this article by Dr. Jemima Pierre, who is, give me one second, family, I could bring this up. Let's see, window, entire screen. Excuse me, give me one second, I do apologize. Oh, yes, here we go. She wrote this article. And when did she write this article? It was published in 2023, and it's titled Haiti as Empire's Laboratory as the United States and its allies push renewed foreign intervention. The uses and abuses of the First Black Republic as a testing ground for imperialism offer stark warnings. Haiti still struggles to be free. So she goes into why Haiti's in the position today is not due to Haitian incompetence. It's due to what foreign meddling in their internal affairs, right? So this is something that most people are unaware of. I actually have Dr. Pierre's contact information, and I reached out to her earlier today, left a message, and I'm hoping that she will get back with me and we could bring her on the platform to really discuss the internal issues. And one of the things that she talks about, because she's been interviewed on Democracy Now! A number of times, and one of the things that she's always stated that is that Haiti would be able to solve its problems if the Haitian people were left alone. She says, but the problem is that Haiti's sovereignty has always been undermined. And this is why we have these issues. She's talked about the fact that these gangs, which are really paramilitary organizations, these are individuals who don't have enough money to buy themselves lunch, but they're walking around with a $3,000 semi-automatic machine gun. Right? Why? Because it's being smuggled in by Western powers to foment civil unrest, and so they can engage in what's known as disaster capitalism. And this is something that takes place throughout the global South, not just in Haiti, but throughout the global South.
And
real quick, this isn't something that just FBAs get wrong. This is something the general public doesn't know anything about. Go right ahead.
my bad, my signal went out. I hope I didn't cut you off. Did I cut you off, brother?
No. The only thing I said was this is not something that simply FBAs or ADOS get wrong. This is something the general American public doesn't know about, right? Because, of course, you're not going to hear about this on CBS, CNN, or MSNBC. You have to go to Democracy Now! Or Al Jazeera TV, or be plugged in the way I am to where you know scholars who do this type of independent research. So this is something that people in general don't know about. My issue and concern is when we have Black people promoting misinformation about Black people. That truly, of course, is problematic to me. Okay, I see you got your camera on. You can turn your camera off, and I will bring you into the live. Very good. Yes, and so yes, I agree with you there, Mr. K. I would agree. Yes, this is something that I was able to learn when I was in undergrad. That, of course, part of the advantage was they went through an industrial revolution. We did not. That allowed them to develop better weapons, particularly to engage in their imperialistic machinations. And we know the industrial revolution was funded by what? The enslavement of course, African peoples. Hoodoo, Voodoo, Louisiana. What say you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'll try to keep it brief because I see it's another guest on the panel. But if your argument is that Haiti is continuously undermined, pardon me, by foreign nations, I won't even argue with you on that. But I will say that Haiti's inability to defend themselves against these against these foreign nations is an indication that Haiti is incompetent, is I think the word that you use, when it comes to defending themselves.
Well,
Because I'll
would
tell you,
disagree.
well,
I'm going
let
to
me
tell you
say one
why.
sentence and I'll pass the mic, please.
Go
I'll tell
ahead.
you one sentence. I'll tell you one country. I'll tell you one country that's not crying about being undermined by the U.S. You
Mm-hmm.
have North Korea. They not crying about any country undermining them right now.
Right.
So respectfully,
I'm
oh, go
glad you
ahead, go
brought
ahead.
that up. North Korea, they have powerful allies, and those powerful allies are Russia and China. No, when we talk about global politics and hegemony and domination, no one does anything on their own. North Korea have powerful allies such as Russia and of course China. Israel is in the Middle East. Why is Israel able to defend themselves? Right? Why is Israel able to be the dominant political actor in the Middle East? Some people prefer the term Southwest Asia because they had the backing of the UK and the United States. Right? Haiti is a island nation of 12 million people. Right? There's no way that a nation of 12 million people without any powerful global allies can take on a superpower like the United States. That's just the reality.
No, but that's the point. You're proving my point. That is an indication that not only is Haiti incompetent at defending its borders, the entire Africa and the entirety of the Caribbean is also incapable of defending its black nations.
So Mr. K says, how can Haiti defend themselves when they didn't have an industrial revolution to develop the necessary weapons to defend themselves?
That's also an indication of an incompetence. They didn't even have an industrial revolution to develop defense mechanisms, brother. We got to
There
take
was a hold on.
accountability, is what I'm saying.
Right, but there was a reason why there wasn't an industrial revolution, and that is due to the machinations of Western imperialistic
No,
go.
I hear you, but what I'm saying is we could keep pointing the finger at the white man, but when will we defend ourselves against the white man?
No. This is not about pointing the finger. This is about dealing with history and reality.
Yeah, let's
For
talk about
example,
reality. What I'm saying is we did not successfully.
you can't overtalk me. This is my platform. You can't overtalk me. We
Yeah,
can
but
say
don't
the
be
same
triggered by
thing.
the truth, brother.
I'm not being disrespectful, but it's my platform. You can't overtalk me. It's
No, I
not going to
said
happen.
triggered by the truth. I didn't say you was being
No.
disrespectful.
I'm not triggered. I'm dealing with reality. What the claim that you're making is at first the facts, and it's an extremely simplistic way of viewing global politics. Because no one says that when there are European powers that call for help. No one makes that claim. I give you an example. When Japan beat Russia in the first Japanese with Sino-Russian war, what happened? The entire European world said, okay, Europe for the European. They stood up and said this is a problem, right? When Ethiopia defeated Italy, right? And Italy said, we got to get that get back. We got to get our lick back. So they did 40 years later. And what happened? All the European powers, imperialistic European powers sat by and they supported Italy invading Ethiopia, even though they were a member of the League of Nations. And at the same time, guess what? Did nothing when they were Italy was knowingly engaging in human rights abuses by using chemical weapons. So this is the question I'm going to ask you. You're making this claim. If you were the head of state in Haiti, what would you do to solve the problems going on right now? So we're going to play, you know what I'm saying? If you were that person, right? If you were the head of state of Haiti, you were the president of Haiti, what would you do to address the issues of foreign influence of Haitian sovereignty by Western imperial powers? What would you do?
Yes, and I promise I will not run from that question. But can I address the first part of what you said about
No,
the European
I need
nations?
you to answer the question.
So can I, after I answer the question, can I respond to about the European nations teaming up?
Only if you answer my
Yes.
question first.
All right, and watch how brief my response is. If I was the head of state of Haiti, I would create policies that incentivize the Haitian diaspora to return back to Haiti. I
That's
would
been
grant,
done. That's been done.
will create more incentives. That's what I would do. I answered your
That's been
question.
done. How are you going
All
to
right, I
deal
hear
with the
you. So they
Western
need to create
powers?
more.
How are you going to deal with the Western powers? What?
Yeah, I was trying to answer
Smuggling
that, brother, but
guns.
you told me to get to the Haiti part first.
Yeah.
I was trying
And
to,
yeah, and what I'm
I was
saying
trying
is
to address.
that's
I'm
already
trying
been
to address.
done. So how are
Yeah,
you
I'm
going
trying
to
to
deal
address
with the
it.
Western powers
Exactly.
smuggling guns into the country to criminals and
Exactly.
causing civil unrest?
Yeah, I was trying to address that part initially, but you told me to address Haiti first. Literally, just as these European nations have teamed up, you're proving my point when you say that. Why haven't these black nations teamed up to defend themselves against non-black nations, such as the U.S., such as China, such as Russia? That's an indication of an incompetence in
Well,
unifying. Don't you realize
Russia
that?
has typically, Russia has historically been an ally of African people.
I mean, if you believe that,
No,
but my
I
point
can
is,
provide,
just as Europe,
examples to substantiate it.
all right, I'm not even going to debate you on that. I'm saying if the Europeans were able to unify against non-European nations, you have to acknowledge that it is a incompetence that black nations in Africa and the Caribbean cannot unify and have not unified against non-black nations. Can you acknowledge that, brother?
I think it's a problem politically. Yes, and but I
I
also know
appreciate
why.
your honesty.
But I also know why that's done, and I'm not happy with it whatsoever. I have a major issue. For part of this because I'm a Pan Africanist, I have a major issue with the fact that every time we turn around, we got somebody that's willing to work with the colonizers and imperialists.
Exactly.
I have a problem with that. And a
All right.
great example, of that would be is when the Organization African Unity was created, May 25th, 1963, out of Zabata, Ethiopia. Okay, and I'm going to let you come in very quickly, There was a couple of groups, right? One group was the Casablanca group that consisted of Kwame Nkrumah. Say, listen, we need to unify Africa, we need to hold it down, we need to have African Union, and we need to make sure that we protect ourselves. Da, da, da. Then you had another group who said, well, hold on now, you know, well, maybe we need to develop amicable relations with these colonizers because they were benefiting from it financially, right? And so there are three identities that come out of the Ma'afa. That is the integrationist, the nationalist, and the conservative. Uh, I don't want to mispronounce your name, but you could go right ahead.
Okay, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Excellent, excellent. Okay. Well, hey, thanks for having me on your broadcast today. I appreciate that.
no
You
problem.
actually, you're a good brother. I enjoy your broadcast. This is actually my second time speaking on the internet because I don't like to do that. I would rather much stay in the chat and with some sources,
Hmm.
evidently. Which I'm gonna drop a couple of links here, a couple of books and article where you can, Dr. Buchanan, where you can review this issue of reparation because the reason why in the chat I was adamant on I stayed on that topic and I was willing to, I wouldn't let it go is because this issue of reparation is central as to why a revolution even happened and as to why revolutions continue to happen all across the globe against the colonizers because the black man has never not thought twice about defending himself, and furthermore, continue to defend himself and not negotiate with an enemy who he knows is constantly at war with him. So this issue goes going back to Haiti, going back to those African slaves who decided to revolt against the French. They knew time and time again that this issue of negotiation could not be reached without bloody and ongoing perpetual warfare because they knew they saw many of them because remember many of those guys fought in the American Revolution. Many do you agree with that? I don't know if you under
Well,
if
wait,
you
you're saying Haitians?
Yes, Haitians fought. You remember in Savannah, Georgia? If you go to Savannah, there are statues of slaves brought over by the French who were helping the American colonizer establish the United States of America, this experiment.
Okay, yeah,
So,
I'm familiar with that.
yes, so those slaves were young and they were,
Well,
they
real
were,
quick, we prefer to term enslaved Africans rather than calling
yes, and
identity.
thank you. I appreciate, no, thank you for that correction. That's exactly right. So these enslaved guys, they were young and they had been accustomed to fighting.
Hmm.
So by the time many of them decided to take up arms against the French colonizers, many of them were experienced,
Yes.
well read. They knew they learned how to read under the cover of darkness and so on and so forth, or the ones who were allowed to. Because remember, Haiti is a mix. It's a mixed group of people of the enslaved Africans and also the mulattoes who decided, okay, we're going to agree to fight these colonizers, the French, but the mulattoes were always, what do you call it, dancing around the issue of how far do they take this revolution. There
Yeah,
was, I'm sure,
this is very true. I've read the literature. You're absolutely right there. Absolutely right.
But are they
so
serious
can you hear
about
me?
fixing Haiti today, though?
Uh-oh.
Okay, can you say that? Can you answer that
Yes.
question
Can you
one
hear
more
me?
time? We hear you very well.
Hello.
You said
Yeah.
you said you need me to repeat the question?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you, brother.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, but
Yeah.
not sure if I can hear.
Well,
Okay,
hold on,
I'm
wait.
gonna keep going, and I'll just
Voodoo
look
and
at your face
Louisiana
to see
Voodoo.
if
Well,
anything
real
is
quick.
different. Okay, so
Real
if
quick.
you can
Just
hear me, I'm
hold
gonna
on,
keep
hold on,
going.
hold on.
So yeah.
Wait.
Uh-oh,
One
let me
mic.
let me
I
see.
want
Man, what
Voodoo and
happened?
Louisiana Voodoo to repeat his question.
Hello.
Yes, my question is, are Haitians,
This is you.
particularly Haitians in the
What's going on
diaspora,
here?
are they serious about fixing Haiti today? In my estimation, they are not.
You in the show upgrading?
Okay. And your estimation
I
is,
don't know
have
what
you
it
had any
is. This is you.
conversations with members of the Haitian diaspora?
Definitely.
Have you reviewed any
Definitely.
empirical research on the subject matter?
I lost my volume. I
Say,
was
hold on,
saying
say that
something.
again. I missed what you said, brother.
Yes, I said, have you? I just muted you, living second. So just give us a second. I said, one, have you had any conversations with members of the Haitian diaspora? And two, have you reviewed any empirical research on the subject matter?
The answer to your question, both of your questions, is yes. I grew up in Maryland. There are Haitians in Maryland. I would say quite a few are in Maryland. Additionally, over the course of my lifetime, I've seen the Haitian population in the U.S. increase. It has not decreased. I don't know not one Haitian that moved back to Haiti ever. Matter of fact, most
Okay.
Haitians I know in the U.S., they don't even visit Haiti. Really.
Okay, that you know of. And what empirical research have you reviewed that informs you that they're not serious about improving the conditions in Haiti?
The census, actually.
No, I said empirical research on the subject matter that they're not concerned with improving the conditions of Haiti.
Well, if you're saying that they opinion-wise want to improve Haiti, that's debatable. But tangibly, they have left Haiti, and more of
But
them are leaving every day.
I said empirical research.
And
You
did you
said
hear my response? I
and
said the census.
the census is an empirical research. The
Actually,
census,
it is.
no, that the empirical research means that there will be an actual study done in which members of the diaspora were interviewed regarding their views on what can be done to improve the conditions of the nation state of Haiti. That is actual empirical research. You're talking to someone who does empirical research. That's how I got my PhD.
Exactly. So let's have a dialogue. The census is an indication that more Haitians have fled Haiti. They did not stay to fix it.
Yeah.
So
And
even if they claim,
there's a
allow me to
reason
say
why.
one sentence, please. Let's not be triggered.
I'm not being
Even
triggered.
if they claim,
There's a reason why. Because of the violence that's being
well, I
fomented
was trying to
by
answer that, brother.
Western imperialists.
Even
Anybody
if
in their
they
right
claim,
mind,
all right, go.
anybody in their right mind, if they are dealing with extreme violence in their neighborhood, is going to leave. That is a reality. No one's going to sit there and say
Brother, you're
that you
proving
have
my
people
point.
being.
They left. They didn't fix it. They didn't solve
What,
the problem. They ran away, brother.
how? You're
They
not
gotta
dealing
take
with.
accountability.
You're dealing with civilians who. So you're
Exactly.
asking
A
civilians.
nation is made up
Hold on,
of civilians, brother.
listen. You're asking law. You're asking civilians, particularly individuals who are white collar professionals, to do what? Actually,
Exactly. I want to answer that. Can I?
hold on. I can't. I don't want to finish my comment. To take up arms against individuals who are being paid, trained, and funded and resourced by the CIA. That is absolutely ridiculous. And
Brother,
who have
the
no
CIA
background in
fund.
guerrilla
I
warfare.
was trying to answer your question, brother. The CIA funded the crack epidemic in our communities. They don't give us a excuse to participate in it, right?
And we did
Checkmate.
participate. What we did was people
Okay, so
moved
we had to
away.
make things better, right?
Yeah, people moved away.
Okay,
People
so
moved
Haitians
away.
got to make Haiti better, brother. They don't
Right.
give us a excuse to
And
participate in
what
it,
took place?
right?
And
Don't
what
be.
took stop? Because you keep trying to cut me off. And what
Okay,
took
so we
place
had to
was
make
black
things better,
people.
right?
Hold on. Wait.
Okay, so Haitians
Wait.
got to make. No, he has an echo. Go.
Okay. And so what took place was particularly we had black flight, right? When the communities were being destroyed due to the crack epidemic, and I've talked about this before on my platform, the overwhelming majority of black people did not engage in the illicit use or selling of drugs. This is a reality. But black people left the neighborhoods. We can't. I can't. Matter of fact, my ex, she's from Cleveland. They used to live in the inner city of Cleveland, on the east side of Cleveland, in the Huff neighborhood, and they ended up moving to golly, what's the name of that town? It's the same city that Holly Berry lived, Bedford, Ohio. Holly Berry graduated from Bedford High School, southeast of Cleveland. It's a suburb, inner ring suburb. And she told me we ended up moving to Bedford because there was some shooting taking place one night. We wake up in the morning and there was a man that had been killed in our backyard. And our father said, "You know what, family, we're moving. This neighborhood is too dangerous for me to raise my children in." This is what reasonable people do. This is just the reality. Particularly when the violence is being supported and funded by government for foreign agents. These are
Brother, you're proving my point, brother. You're proving my point.
These are white collar professionals. These are people who have a background in guerrilla warfare.
And now let me respond with one sentence. You literally just proved my point. African Americans have many have abandoned the African American community, and as a result,
But
the
that's
total
not a
number.
that's not a black
I
community.
can't complete a sentence, brother. Please allow me to complete the sentence. Let's have a dialogue, because I'm not triggered by anything you say. Now, you're proving my point. African Americans, many have abandoned the African American community, and as a result, the total number of majority African American cities, towns, counties, and congressional districts is decreasing, and we have to live with the karma of that. So, yes, Haitians abandoning Haiti instead of fixing Haiti, they have to live with the karma of that and be accountable.
Well, once again, we talked about this offline the other day. We will have to agree to disagree because I don't see that as abandoning. Because I guarantee, if you were living in Haiti and you were had to, and your family was experiencing this type of violence that was being promoted by Western imperialists, you would leave as well. You're talking
They
about
have beautiful cities in Haiti. Have you heard of Camp Haitian?
Yes. Once
There are
again,
Haitians that are tamming up and showing their communities, brother. It's not all
once
war
again,
torn, brother.
once again, you
Exactly.
sound triggered. As you say, did you sound triggered? If you
Brother,
were
you
in that
cannot mischaracterize me.
if you were in that if you were living in that environment, you would take the
Uh-huh.
family and leave.
I would
This is the
move to a
reality.
better city in Haiti. I would move to a better city in Haiti.
That's what you would
That's
do.
what I would do.
That's what you would do.
I would
So,
fix my country.
live Nesca, go right ahead. We're going to give you a chance to jump back in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so
And real
I
quick,
think I
I see the books that you mentioned. I actually have all of this literature that you talked about. Vengeance of the New World, Black Jacobins by Ciola James. I have this literature. So go right ahead.
okay, excellent. The last thing I just dropped is that article, which really goes hard into the reparation issue. Okay, so where I left off, I think I was talking about as to how the black man thinks twice about fighting and continuing the fight. So we don't quit the fight and we don't pay our colonizers just like that. Is that the last one I made before I got dropped off?
Yeah, you had mentioned how the mulattoes were heeing and hawing about how far they should go in the revolution, but we really want to
Exactly.
we want to bring this forward to, of course, present day.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. Well, the issue is, okay, I'm going to say this last thing about reparation, and then we can get to present day. You can ask me whatever you want, or I can make any comment. So, can you hear me now? Oh boy.
Yes, I hear you just fine.
Okay, cool. The reparation issue is that there isn't sequence as to how things happen. So the delegation from France came and said, "Hey, you guys got to pay us for being free." So then the Haiti split in two at the time: the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom. So the Southern Kingdom, the delegation from France, when they arrive, they wine and dine them. They're talking to them, debating as to how they can go about paying them, and then the president of the Southern King, the king of the Southern Kingdom, who was a mulatto at the time, Alexander Pétion, although he was a revolutionary, but he still said, how can we agree to terms to pay you guys? But when they sent part of that delegation to the Northern Kingdom, what they did, what
Yeah,
Christophe
I
did.
know, but respectfully, you already went over all of this in the comments.
Yeah,
We want to talk
I know,
about
but
what's going on now.
okay, well, let me just say this. They judged them. They took them. They said, "How dare you guys come up here and ask us to pay you?" So they took them. They judged them, and they hung some
I
of them,
know
and they put one of them in jail.
you already said all of that in the comments. We want to
When I
focus
say that,
on.
got you. I say
Go
that
ahead.
because that's the same spirit as to why I'm going to say the things I'm about to say. Because we don't flee, we fight. So and you've already said that, Dr. Buchanan. You've already said if you
Well,
were in
it's
Haiti, you
Dr.
would flee
Lumumba.
too.
It's Dr. Lumumba. Dr.
Oh,
Lumumba.
Doctor. Okay, thank you, Doctor Lumo. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, and at the beginning of your broadcast, you talked about how some, the Great Migration is, listen, right now, if I'm living in a ghetto in an American ghetto that's inflicted upon black people in this country, in the United States of America, first thing I'm gonna do is get out of there so I can provide some safety and some provision for my family. I'm gonna go
Right.
to a different neighborhood. So that's sign of fleeing, and that's human nature. And W.E.B. Du Bois, he had to leave the country so he could go to where? Africa. And then from there, he wrote volumes, as to how nefarious, the American experience has been and incomplete for the Negro. So this fleeing thing, that's why I wanted to go back on the reparation. But now we're gonna move forward.
And very quickly, Kevin, aka Mr. K, says Haitians leaving their countries is no different to the other European nationalities that leave their countries due to civil unrest, like the Irish, Italians, Polish, Greeks, and Eastern Europeans. We know even Germans left and came to the United States in large numbers post-World War II. So once again, it's the demonizing and pathologizing of course, once again, Haitian Black people when they engage in something behavior that all people engage in.
Yeah, and I don't understand how the lack of scholarship that exists. Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, so I see that there is a lack of scholarship that exists among some of my brothers here who call themselves FBA. It seems like they don't want to study as to just to identify, just to observe. You don't
Yeah,
have to be a scholar to observe that everybody would run to save their lives.
And one of the things he mentioned was, well, I would just move to another city, but what he doesn't know that when you're in Haiti, when you are a member, if you take an oppositional position to the current or contemporary government, they actually send people out. The police are used to track you down and delete you.
Exactly.
So it isn't as simple as, I just moved to another city. A great example of this would be doing the COINTELPRO. You had some Black activists who would leave to another city. What would happen? For example,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Are you there? Uh-oh.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can't hear Dr. Lumumba.
Yeah, I
I
think
think so.
his internet is having some intermittent issues. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't I guess for me, the biggest challenge is how do we get people to look at history not just from a micro level, but from a macro level, so we can have these discussions in a way that, number one, we don't begin by spewing so much ignorance that
Yeah,
is so offensive.
Yeah, I mean, I personally believe that, war just breeds more death, you know. So you can say, hey, you can stay back and fight, but and fight these warriors or these gang people that are apparently trained by the CIA and funded by the CIA, but it's just going to bring more death to more Black people. So the only way you can have like true growth is through peace. And I don't know how they're going to get to that point. Once they get to the peace, then you can
Yeah.
start adding some production. A lot of times, you got to go through these times of strife to bring peace. But we'll see who the victors of this situation is and how it can move forward. And hopefully, we can see brighter days for the Haitian people during our lifetimes.
Yeah,
And
I
we
agree
see,
with you.
real
Go
quick,
ahead.
we see right here with Mr. Case that's also bearing in mind that not everyone is a freedom fighter. A lot of people are everyday, regular, hardworking people. It's the freedom fighters it's not the freedom fighters that leave, it's the everyday, regular people. And that's something that I stated. And I was having some connection issues, but I mentioned Assata Shakur and, of course, Geronimo Pratt. Geronimo Pratt spent nearly 30 years in prison as a member of the Black Panther due to being a member of the Black Panther
Yeah.
Party due to COINTELPRO, and where the prosecutor had exculpatory evidence showing that he was innocent of the crime he had been committed. He wasn't even in the state of California at the time that the person was deleted, and they still took him to trial and found him guilty. He was sent to prison. So these are the type of things that happen. So what did Geronimo Pratt do when he finally was released from prison 28 years later? He left and moved to Tanzania.
And
This
I
is
don't
what
blame
people
him.
do, right? Because this is what happens. If you are advocating for actually truly sovereign Haiti, and the individuals in government want to do business with the colonizers because it enriches them personally, even though it's not to the benefit of the Haitian people, then what are they going to do? They're going to get rid of you. You could run to any city you want. They're going to find your black behind. So what do? You have to
Yeah.
get out the country. This happens all over the world. A great example was what took place with Saudi Arabia. There was a journalist who was a vocal critic of the Crown Prince. What did they do? He went to the embassy in Turkey and Istanbul, and what happened? They clapped that boy like Birdman and Clips.
Man.
This is what happens. So, like I said, it's coming from a position of privilege when you can sit back and say, "Well, this is what you should do." And as I said, when he said, "Well, if you were president, I would create policies to bring back the Haitian diaspora," that's already taking place. But that doesn't address the fact that you have foreign Western imperialistic nations smuggling weapons into your country and paying people to engage in violence against the Haitian people. It doesn't address that issue. And this is the issue that when we talk about the crux of the issue, which is America, France, Canada, the United Nations, fomenting civil unrest, smuggling weapons, paying people to engage in violence. I said, how do you address that issue if you're the president of the country? They don't want to talk about that because they don't have any solutions. All they want to do is kick other black people when they're down and throw them under the bus.
And the sad thing is, this is something new. This is a new phenomenon among the FBAs or whoever. You know, this is a new phenomenon that I'm seeing here. This wasn't always the case. This is a new frame of thinking. That's certainly, we know where it comes from. We know it's from you know, Langley, Virginia, wherever. But
Right.
I just don't understand how. I don't understand how our generation of black men in particular can just get on the internet and not be willing to do a Google search, not be willing to watch program like yours where you provide sources, where you provide documentation as to why you say what you say. But
Right.
I want to make
Matter
this
of fact,
point. Go ahead.
Well,
Go
real
ahead.
quick, this is a good point. The brother says Kwame Ture. Yes, Kwame Ture. His birthday was just June 29th. So shout out to Kwame Ture. Of course, we know many people know him as Stokely Carmichael, but we want to reference, of course, reference his self-determination agency. He left the United States and went to Guinea because of COINTELPRO. When he found out they were after him, they were either going to delete him or throw him in prison on false charges. He got the French toast out of there. That's what people do. Go right ahead, brother.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I was gonna say the you know, it's from a historical perspective. A place like Haiti and many other nations, even like the new experiments with the Sahel nations, you see what they do. For a while, they were opening their borders to the black diaspora from everywhere. They were saying, "Hey, you can come and get a visa and get a look into a citizenship and those type of things." So let me take it back. Haiti did the same thing. Right after the revolution, they were saying any black person who stepped foot in Haiti, you are number one, you are declared free, and you can stay in the country and do business and build a life for yourself. So I don't understand how this anti-blackness that comes about within us, within all people. When I say all people, within all black people all over the globe, is sudden, all of a sudden getting us to fight against each other when our natural spirit is to have peace, like the brother was saying earlier. We want to be at peace. Haiti want to be at peace. All these other nations want to be at peace. They just want to be left alone. But hey, like I said, the Haitian revolutionaries, they saw how evil this colonial system was. So they knew there was not going to be any negotiation with them. I rest my case.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the biggest issue is you're talking about everyday hardworking people. How are they going to fight against the machinations of Western imperialism, military aggression? It's not realistic, right? I talk about this all the time. We talk about American imperialism. When was the last time America went to war with a military power that was on equal footing? It was World War II, and it's because they were forced to. Typically, America they starting wars with people who they are bigger and badder than. That's just the reality. Right? When we talk about Ethiopia, the fact that they were able to defend their sovereignty in the Battle of Ottawa is because they had weapons that were being provided to them by Russia.
Yep, that's right. That's right. You had to have an alliance.
You see what I'm saying? So I said, you got to have somebody helping you out. You can't do it by yourself. But I said, when we talk about the global nature of Western imperialism, their policies have always worked to undermine and keep the global South poor and unable to defend their sovereignty.
Exactly.
And I give you
And
another example would be in Ghana. You mentioned the boys going to Ghana, right, at the request of what, Nkrumah. But then what took place? He had a Pan-African government. He's a Pan-African head of state. The CIA fomented a coup, because in a country, you always have someone who doesn't like who's in charge. That's just a reality, right? They paid them
yeah,
handsomely, trained them. And matter of fact, the imperial puppet for France, who was at the time the president of the Cote d'Ivoire, he actually had allowed the people to train, the CIA to train the individuals in his country. They go to Ghana and they get Nkrumah up out of there. And then guess what happens? The economy stops growing, even though it was growing at a small rate, but it was growing. And then what? They get them to take a bunch of loans from the World Bank and IMF, structural adjustment. They defund the loans, and now the West is right back in control of that African economy. You can't blame the everyday citizens in Ghana who are just hardworking people for what took place at the higher ranks of government. You can't do that. That's like blaming us for the decisions Trump is making, or blaming us for Obama supporting the invasion of Libya.
yeah.
Right?
And
It's like they don't understand the way these things actually work.
no, they don't. They don't. And the sad thing is,
Go right ahead, brother.
yeah, the sad thing is they fail to realize that you have, as you said, you have to have an alliance, you have to have another partnership with another nation that can help you get weapons and help you with your
Yeah.
defense. But the fundamental issue that they neglect is that the black people have to ally with each other, starting on the fighting on that tribalism footing is an automatic defeat if we are going to go in the battlefield against an enemy who is perpetually at war with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of people, they don't understand it, or they don't care to understand. All they simply want is a better seat at master table. To see exactly, Dr. Lumumba, another thing that can be an advantage or disadvantage for a country against imperial force is the country's geographical location. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a reality. So it's very simple to say, well, we're just incompetent, right? When you are not in the position to deal with the entities that are pushing back against our sovereignty, right? So when I was the director of a Black Culture Center at a predominantly white institution, every day I had to defend the work that we were doing with our Black students, while we were educating and teaching our students from an African perspective, and so on and so forth, right? But for someone, they can say, well, why don't you just go in there and say whatever you want? Well, that's not how things work in the real world, right?
Exactly.
So it's easy for someone to critique on the outside, but when you're in that room, I had to have scholarship to support why we created a Sahel Alliance with the Pan-African Studies program. We had to create scholarship to why we had the Sankofa initiative, where we were highlighting, the history of African intellectual brilliance with the Sankofa University of Sankore in Timbuktu, West Africa. And I had to tell them, because we don't want to promote miseducation and have students believe that in order to be intelligent, you have to basically be a pathological adjunct to white people, right? I had to break that down with scholarship.
Wow.
Right. And so, like I said, I'm someone who was in the military, right? Most countries do not have the military capacity to withstand a U.S., Great Britain, or Russian invasion. Even Ukraine, they're hanging on by the skin of their teeth. But why? Because they're receiving support from the United States government in terms of tanks, aircraft, drones, etc. If not, they just wouldn't have the capacity. Why? Because Russia is a far more powerful nation. They have all the natural resources that they need to self-sustain themselves. Ukraine doesn't. So as a result, you geographically, you don't have the capacity to do what other nations can. For example, and I might use a off-color sports remark, but some people may say, well, Shaq was better than Kobe, right? We're going to take it to sports, right? Because Shaq is able to just go in and dunk the ball whenever he wants. But Shaq was 7'1" and 325 pounds, right? It doesn't mean that Kobe's incompetent because he's not as physically dominant as Shaq. He doesn't have the capacity to do that because of what? He doesn't have the physiology of Shaquille O'Neal, right? So some countries aren't going to be able, they don't have the capacity to have the military strength of the United States or Canada or Western imperialist powers based on their size, geographical location, and demographic power.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's like I said, it's very extremely simplistic, right? Understanding of global politics and how it works.
And one thing I wanna.
But in hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, in defense of what the other brother was saying, I think his name was Voodoo, Louisiana. What I think the
Hmm.
context is what he was getting at is as a unification because black people in the diaspora haven't, gained the military power to protect themselves like the Russians can protect, you know, uh, the Northern Koreans or how the Europeans can protect the Israelis or the Americans can
Well, the
protect the
Israelis are able
Israelis
to protect
against.
themselves due to, hold on, the Israelis are able to protect themselves due to what? Western largesse.
Right. Yeah. So that's at the end of the day, Israelis are just white people that moved to Israel, right? So at the end of the day, if we're black people that just moved to, the island of or the peninsula of Haiti, and we don't have
Hmm.
another African power who can provide them with weapons or provide them with the military support to make sure that other countries don't invade in their politics, then that at the end of the day, that is kind of a failure on our military strength
No, I
for
disagree,
planning.
and I'm going to tell you why. Because in order to have the military power to resist foreign incursion, you also have to have a large war chest, meaning you have a extremely strong economy that can support you having a robust military budget,
Yep.
right? And part of Western imperialism is to prevent African and Black Caribbean nations from being economically independent.
Yeah. You nailed it.
Because these things are all connected.
That's right.
So one, you can't even purchase the weapons that you need.
That's
You
yeah.
see what I'm saying? You don't even have the money.
Yep. Which is
Right, and then hold on, and then who controls the global economy? The global north. So what is, and this happened with Ghana when Nkrumah was in office and he was taking part of the Ghanaian budget and using it to fund anti-colonial movements in African nations. What did the Western nations do? They started to manipulate the cost of cocoa on the global market because that was the leading export product for the Ghanaian government. Yeah.
Right. So
It's never goes,
what would
it's much deeper
happen?
than people think.
Well, so what would happen if the African countries all unified and created their own currency and their own economic system apart from the Western dollar?
Yeah. Yes. Now that would work. That took place in 2011 with Gaddafi, and what happened?
mm-hmm.
The Western nations,
Exactly.
those Western nations, France, UK, United Nations in America, made up a lie, sold it to the global public because Malcolm X said, the military, they put their propagandists, they make you think the innocent is guilty and the guilty is innocent, and went in there, killed him off, took control of all the resources, and now they have open air slave markets where Black Africans are being sold.
But Gaddafi is an Arab, wasn't he?
Yes,
But sure,
yes,
sure.
he was. However, but he was serious about promoting an African sovereignty, particularly economically.
Right.
So
Exactly.
what was
He,
his
he,
dollar going to be backed by? Was it going to be
By
gold.
backed
gold.
by
It,
the
it,
By
Arab?
was the
gold.
gold. It was the gold dinar.
Yeah. The gold
Yeah, this is
from the
happening
ground
with
from
the African Union. He actually gave over 300, and I'm not a Gaddafi apologist, like you said, he was Arab, but he gave over
yeah.
over $300 million to the African Union. He was actually paying the yearly dues for many African nations to the African Union, so that it wouldn't have to be dependent on the European Union. Guess who primarily funds the African Union now? The European Union.
The IMF. That's it. Yeah, let me say this.
Right, and I'm glad Mr. K said that. Here's the thing with the voodoo guy. He will talk about demand Africa develop military power because he will not articulate how to practically make that happen. Absolutely. That's why I asked the question. If you were the head of state, how do you address foreign intervention? How do you address foreigners, military, Western imperial powers undermining your sovereignty and fomenting civil unrest. He couldn't answer the question. Simply telling people who have PhDs and law degrees to come back home doesn't address that issue.
Oh,
When they're
exactly. And that
smuggling
happens.
weapons in your country.
Exactly. And that happens all the time in all these different.
Yeah, a great example is what we know: the CIA smuggled crack cocaine into our community. Many of the cities
Yes.
where this was taking place, there were black mayors, right?
Hmm.
So you telling me the mayor can take on the CIA?
Exactly.
No.
Yeah. Let me say this about the point with the fighting issue.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, so about the fighting issue, about standing and fighting. I mean, we have countless example right now as to how that's happening. Of case in point, in the Sahel, they stand and fight. They don't just buy weapons from Russia or Turkey
Hmm.
or Iran. They get these weapons because they're able, as you said, Dr. Lumumba, they have the financial backing. You know, these guys are sitting on gold, uranium, all sorts of resources that where they can do that the Europeans they want, by the way, and all other Western nations want these resources. Um,
Hmm.
so they get these weapons, but did you not see what happened about a month and a half ago, where they were attacked by 12,000 troops, foreign troops, backed with drones and all sorts of military sophistication to take over Mali? Those
Mm.
guys, they stood up, they fought, and they repelled that. I mean, yeah, that's you can go online and look at it. That happened about a month ago. I mean, these things are
Mm.
happening right before our eyes, where these black men are standing up and fighting when they have parity. When they have that equalizer on the battlefield, as Francis Cress Welsing talks about, the great
Mm.
equalizer, in her thesis with the ISIS paper and all of that. When they're
Absolutely.
able to get the resources to fight, they stand and fight everywhere. The Black Panther, they fought. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere we tried. So I wanted to make that point as to the fighting goes on globally when we have the resources to do that. We can unite and fight. That there is no
Right.
question about that. So
No,
anybody who raised
actually,
that point, yeah,
I want to give another example that you speak to. Um, the second Italian Abyssinian War, right,
mm,
took place right before the start of World War II. I remember
yep,
W.E. Du Bois, your boy, as you mentioned, held a hands-off Ethiopia rally in Harlem, 125th Street, and of
right,
course Frederick Douglass, if I remember correctly.
hmm
There were African Americans who said, "Well, we are willing to enlist in the Ethiopian army." The United States government, so nope, you can't do that. Right.
that's
So, like I
right.
said, these things are much deeper than one would believe. Like I said, oftentimes these are surface level conversations that are being had. They aren't able to do a deeper dive. That's why I'm gonna try to get Dr. Jemima Pierre on here. I texted her, I called her, left a message because I said people just have no idea what's actually going on. It's not as simple as saying just come back into the neighborhood. Like, for example, I'm a PhD, right? I am
Right.
a higher education administrator by training, right? You could bring in 17 people who have PhDs and master's degrees and working hard working brothers and put them in a community that's being ran by criminals. But they got Uzis and Dracos and AR-15s. We're not going to stand a chance.
Right.
You see what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Because it's not that simple. Right, and what most people don't know is that typically in Haiti, because you've had corrupt heads of state who are being backed by the United States, it's not just that the person was corrupt, just like the Mobutu in the Congo, right?
Hmm.
These are individuals who are being backed and paid by the United States. You see what I'm saying? But a great
Yep.
example is in the United States, they have an issue with terrorist organizations. So they have an issue with Boko Haram and etc. But they didn't have an issue with the Lord's Resistance Army in Africa, who was engaging in the same terrorist behavior, but they didn't call them terrorist organization because what they were Christian.
Because yep, they put that
You
label
see
on
what I'm
them.
saying?
That's
You
right.
have to believe it. You can look this stuff up, the Lord's Resistance Army, right? So what tends to take place is whenever you have these type of individuals in black communities engaging in this type of warfare against black people, they're being backed by Western imperialist powers. Asada Shakur talked about this. She said after the
Hmm.
Civil Rights Black Power movement, we found ourselves having to fight against the drug dealers. Munster
Man.
Cody, in his book, The Autobiography of an LA Gang Member, he talked about when he got out of prison and he became a black nationalist and a Pan Africanist, He said they found out that there were drug dealers in the community who were on the police officers' payroll.
I mean, there is ways that you could take down those gangs in your community if you really wanted to. All you need is a
Really?
couple snipers.
These gangs are being backed by the government.
All you need is a couple snipers, some people to infiltrate the gang,
Right,
take out their
guess what's
leaders.
going to happen? And guess what's happening? You're going to go to jail. They're going to arrest you and lock you up.
Well, you just got to pay the cops off.
You can't. The cops are the ones.
You got to pay the cops off.
Sandman, that's absolutely ridiculous. Someone from Philadelphia, I expect something better. Boots Ennis just put on the show where you can't be talking like that. The cops are the ones paying the people to engage in the behavior. What are you talking about?
No, they're paying the cops.
No, the cops are paying them. This is what I'm talking about. Asada Shakur talked about this in her autobiography. Right?
So where the cops?
Michelle Alexander talked about this in her book, The New Jim Crow. You see, I admitted that they were paying people to bring drugs in, and they were telling the police officers to not prosecute the individuals. So you can't pay the cops off when they're getting orders from the government.
Yep, you can't. You
I
can't.
mean, at the end of the day, it's about financial benefit for somebody. So whoever's benefiting from it financially.
Are being told by the United States government to not prosecute criminals in a particular neighborhood. There's nothing that you're going to be able to do to cash them out to make them to change their mind.
Unless they have some strong conviction to not take the money.
Oh well, I can't
paid by
speak.
The government. They're being given tens of thousands of dollars to turn the other way and not arrest people and then not prosecute them if they are arrested. This is documented. Dr. Michelle Alexander, who is a former law professor at The Ohio State University, discusses this and provides citations in her book, The New Jim Crow. If you don't believe me, read the book. You showing up with some money ain't going to stop that.
That's treason against American citizens, so I can't even speak on that if that's true.
Yeah, this is not an issue if it is true. It is true. So like I said, you coming in as a black businessman saying I give you $20,000 not to prosecute these people ain't gonna change the fact that they're working for the government. The best example of this is when Malcolm X was killed.
So you're claiming that the American government is actively working to destroy the black community?
Of course. Man. Oh,
this is documented. This isn't. I'm not pulling stuff out my derriere. And you don't believe me? Go look up go look up all the redacted FBI files due to the Freedom of Information Act. This is documented that this was done.
So if that's the case, then why stay in America?
I didn't say you had to.
And I can add some notes to that. I mean, you know. Yeah, you said why stay in America? I mean, this nation is listen, you don't have to run. And furthermore, I'm just now realizing this. Propaganda is no joke. So a lot of people don't know what this nation has done to them.
Yeah,
white or black. A lot of people don't know, which is why when we don't study history, and I love that quote from Malcolm X, you know, that's my favorite quote as to what is it? History, Dr. Lumumba, is history the only study, qualifier, research, something to that degree?
History is the only study qualifier for. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, when we don't know history, like Sandman, all of us, you know, Hoodoo, who came on earlier, when all people, we don't know history, and that's why the first thing the colonizers did, they make sure that they ripped us apart from any semblance of our history. Because when we know our history, go ahead, doctor.
How do I say your name, brother?
Oh, Livneska. It's just my
okay.
You can just say it. Yes, sir.
I'm going to back up what you said with scholarship. Dr. Ali Missouri, he's transitioned. He's an ancestor now. He was from Kenya, I believe from Mombasa. He was the former head of African and African American Studies at the University of Michigan. He stated in his book, The Africans of Triple Heritage, that was published in the mid-'80s. He says what the colonizers, and particularly the enslavers in the Western world, did to enslaved Africans and their descendants, they did something they engaged in something called contrived amnesia. and what they were able to remove the cultural memory of the enslaved Africans and their descendants. So they had no knowledge of what they had done before as a people. It's called contrived amnesia. One of the reasons people stay in America is because of the level of industrialization. We are accustomed to a particular level of industrialization, and when you travel the world, you realize that most people don't have this level of industrialization that we do here in the Western world. That plays a
Right.
role as well.
So, but the issue,
Second issue is
if you was to go to the emergency room, right, for getting shot in the chest and getting shot in the hand, right, what is the doctor going to do? He's going to treat the chest wound before he treats the hand wound, because
it's
the
going
chest
triage.
wound, the chest wound is more life threatening. So if what you're saying is that you have to determine what is most life threatening to your community in general, and you have to treat that first before you can treat the smaller things, if that makes sense. So
Okay, how does that connect to what we're talking about?
well, you're saying that the government is actively working towards your working towards, ending you or destroying the black community. Well, if that's your biggest threat, then why would you stay and can continue to be attacked by an entity that's your biggest threat?
Right. Well, so there's a couple things I would say. I just gave you an example about industrialization. The second issue is anti-black racism is omnipresent. Everywhere you go in the world, Western imperialists are seeking to undermine African sovereignty. This is why Brother Jabril from Somalia, who's come on the show periodically, but he's more of an organizer than, of course, a talking head, talks about one of the goals of Pan-Africanism is to develop true African sovereignty. So it doesn't matter when you're in Kenya, you see the machinations of Western imperialists. I know because I got a brother that I worked out with the other day who told me he was in Kenya and he saw things going on. When I was in Ghana, same thing. When you go to Ethiopia, because white hegemony is global. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you're going to see the machinations of Western imperialism seeking to undermine their particular people's sovereignty so they control their economy. This is the reality of the situation.
Okay, yeah. So where is the best place that you have to defend yourself against those attacks?
I don't know.
I say, I say, brother, I say the best place to defend yourself is to get to know your history, because from there you can have a launch pad anywhere. You can make alliances anywhere with any group of people that are willing to be part of this revolution. And the other thing I want to say is not everybody can flee, not everybody can run. Some of us cannot
Yeah.
afford to move across the street. How are we going
Right.
to move
Yeah.
outside
I'm
of the
glad you mentioned.
country?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Robert Johnson, in his book "Why Blacks Left America for Africa," he mentioned that far more African Americans would have left the United States, but they were hamstrung by poverty. This is a direct quote in his book. He mentions that there's a lot of people that left, but they just financially didn't have the capacity to do so.
Yeah.
But I mean, but the reality, we live in a world, and you should know this. And man, you come on my platform all the time. If you are advocating for true economic independence for African nations, you are going to be considered a threat to the Western imperialists. This is the reality. This is why scholars call it nominal independence, or what they call flag independence, but not true economic and political independence. Matter of fact, somebody was on Twitter or X today, and they were talking about, but that don't make any sense. Why Haiti? Because somebody mentioned that the Congo was still colonized, and God said that's ridiculous. They gained their independence June of 1960. And I said, well, if you do any research, which obviously you haven't, you would know that the Belgians actually said that in order for us to heighten our control of the economy, it is better for us to allow them to gain nominal flag independence, so that therefore we can engage in our imperial machinations without the cost of running the colony.
Wow.
And I'm getting this information from the book Patrice Lumumba, Africa's Lost Leader. Right, so they realize
I believe that history is important, but you can't drive the car looking through the back window.
Well, but it's not looking through the back window. We talk about Sankofa, the concept of Sankofa. Are you familiar with the concept of Sankofa, Sandman?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so Sankofa is an African concept. I actually have the Sankofa bird tattooed on the back of my neck, in which you have a bird that turns back and looks back, and it says in order to move forward, you have to understand the past, right? And what tends to happen, this happens a lot of, but a lot of Black people in terms of engaging in activism is the lack of understanding history. They're trying to recreate the wheel or trying to engage in actions and practices that didn't work in the past. You see what I'm saying here? So this is why it's important to understand history, right? People not understanding history is why people think Haitians just don't know how to govern themselves, or they think that, oh, they're just fleeing their country, or the fact that they're just incompetent and can't resist the military machinations of U.S. imperialism because they don't understand the history of what's actually going on. Also, we know that people who don't know history are easy to manipulate. If you don't believe me, take your Black behind to a church or a mosque or a synagogue. They misrepresent history all the time, and the people doting questioners just believe what they're saying because they don't understand history. They have no functional knowledge of history. This is very
Yep.
important.
Yeah, I
Give you another
tended to
example.
like.
When my son was
Yeah,
in school, some of the teachers would make claims about African people or Black people and enslaved Africans and descendants not resisting slavery. My son would pop up, that isn't true. I know this because I read this book, boom, 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 bow. But if not, if I wasn't educating my son at home and having him read scholarly literature as a young man, he would have believed that and been brainwashing to believing that whenever something positive happened for Black people, it was at the largesse of non-Black others.
mhm.
So it's
Yeah,
been
I think
socialized
I
for
tended
we
to.
believe.
I take it akin to like a football game or even a boxing match, whereas though you learn the history of your opponent so that you know how to move forward. But
Correct.
if you do all your studying of
You
the
gotta study that
opponent,
tape. You gotta study
if
that
you
tape.
study, but if you study that tape and never get in the actual fight itself, then you're just studying tape. You're not actually
Correct.
moving forward.
And that I would agree with. As someone who used to play football and used to box, at some point you got to take what you've learned on film or on tape and go into the ring and implement it. I would agree 100%. Let's see here. There's a comment from someone that says, I met MK even though we were from opposing sides, and I can say going through this system as a juvenile and seeing and experiencing the things I did, I realized that we weren't meant to survive because we're constantly being set up. So if you could tap in and be part of the conversation, definitely would like to hear really a deeper dive in terms of what you're referring to and what do you mean by that. When you talk about the criminal justice system, I think most people are aware that the criminal justice system is inherently racist. We know that Black people receive 2/3 as much time as their white counterparts for the same crimes. There have been empirical research done to substantiate that. But of course, I've always pushed the best way to deal with the criminal justice system is to not be involved in it. We also know that the criminal justice system is used as a way to deal with social problems, particularly individuals who are considered politically and socially undesirable, right? And the great example of that, of course, is what took place with Geronimo Pratt. Of course, there are an innumerable amount of Black men and women who were activists who were wrongfully imprisoned. One would be Mumia Abdul-Jamal, Assad Shakur, etc., where we know the criminal justice system is used as a way to deal with people who are politically undesirable. There was even a time where I was in a county jail, and they had me in isolation. And I remember my cousin told me they had on the screen where you could go on and see who was in the county that I was a considered a threat. And there was an individual who engaged in the prison ministry who was my former guidance counselor in high school, and he was able to get me out of isolation. And he said the reason why they put me in there because they thought I was a threat to organize my fellow inmates. So something to, of course, consider when we talk about the criminal justice system. But K Camneck, I hope that you can tap in and be part of the combo. The link is in the description. The link is in the chat. You all are watching LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we could gain a competitive advantage for always betting on Black, in conjunction, of course, with Beacon Network, the Pan African social media extraordinaire. Make sure you like, subscribe, and donate. Once again, opening the floor back up. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I believe that, Haiti has had a huge influence, not just on the black diaspora, but on the world entirely, because, it wasn't just black people that were taken advantage of all over the world. There's been racism and people being exploited all over the world, and the idea of downtrodden Africans on a small island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean to fight against their oppressor and take over the land was inspirational, not just for the African diaspora, but people all over the world to go ahead and fight against oppression. So no, I think they made huge strides through the history of mankind, and they ought to be the ancestors of those people ought to be respected for their achievements if we can help to move them forward, and hopefully as the diaspora we can help to straighten things out
But brother,
in
they gotta
Haiti.
want to help themselves as Haitians. Really.
Right.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, so
Well.
that in itself is problematic because the supposition of your statement is that they aren't engaging in actions to better things in their country. And as we said, and we've gone through this before, you did not provide any empirical research, right? That substantiates the fact that there aren't individuals who are working to better things in Haiti. And like I said it before, the issue isn't because of Haitian incompetence. The issue is due to what foreign meddling of Haitian civil society. So, in order for Haiti to be great again, the issue would have to be addressed of Western imperialists undermining Haitian sovereignty and fomenting civil unrest. That is a reality
And
because
and
we're
I,
talking about everyday working people who aren't don't engage in guerrilla warfare. The people who are freedom fighters, they haven't left Haiti, but everyday hardworking people who simply have white collar, blue collar jobs or pink collar jobs, they aren't the issue, right? The issue is once again, the Western imperialists undermining Haiti's sovereignty, undermining their government, and smuggling weapons, paying individuals to engage in these type of terroristic activities. That's the issue that has to be
no, I,
addressed.
I hear you, Dr. Lumumba. Allow me to ask this, and this is a very simple question: how does Haitians literally fleeing Haiti and moving to the U.S., the same U.S. that they claim undermines Haiti, these Haitians in the U.S. are paying taxes to the U.S. government and the U.S. military that they claim is undermining Haiti? How does this benefit Haiti?
Okay, well,
Well, one,
go,
everybody in the United States pays taxes. I'm an African American.
thank you.
Well,
Exactly.
Yeah.
hold on, let me finish. I'm an African American. I pay taxes, and I know the United States government works tooth and nail to undermine the black community. That's not something you can deal with. But one of the
Yeah.
things that the Haitian diaspora is able to do is because they are in America and able to make more money. They're able to send money back to their family. Right, they're able to use the platform of being in the United States to put out information. Right, yeah, of course, everybody pays taxes, of course, to and
But,
make the world
but
aware
you're
of
proving my
mistakes we
point
face.
though.
But no, are you asking me a question? I'm going to finish.
Yeah, I'm
Another
listening.
great
Go ahead.
example is Dr. Jimmy Pierre, who is the leading scholar on the history and politics of Haiti in North America. Right, she's a professor at the University of British Columbia. I actually have her personal contact information, and she goes out of her way to make people aware of what's going on and to actually provide prescriptive solutions to the issues that are taking place in Haiti. Now, she wouldn't have that platform if she was in Haiti, because what I know, because I've been to developing nations, particularly nations that are autocratic, where they'll simply shut down the internet, so you don't have the ability to make the world aware of what's going on. A great example would be in what's going on in Togo with our sister Farida Namboule, who of course is working on one of the chief architects of the Fraud as Go movement in Togo. Right, but what we also know is that whenever we find these type of autocratic, dictatorial governments or oppressive governments, or there's a lack of development, what typically is the case? And Mr. Sandman, Liv Nika, and of course Mr. K can speak to this. They typically are backed by Western imperialists.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Let me say this.
Well, can we not speed past that? How does being dependent on the U.S. dollar benefit Haiti?
Okay, let me answer this guy. I got to answer this guy, right?
Yes,
Go
but I
ahead.
want the doctor to answer, but you can answer too. Go
But
ahead, brother.
I answered the question. The question was
You did
how
not.
would them
I'm
being in
saying,
the
how does
United
being
Oh
States?
man.
dependent on the
You
U.S.
can't. You're
dollar?
over talking. What you stated was how is them being in the United States going to benefit helping Haiti? And I answered the question. I stated it
He,
gives them the platform to not only
Uh-huh.
provide resources, sending money back home to their family members, but also they are
Exactly.
in a country where they have a platform to make the world aware of what's taking place in, of course,
That
the
means
United
Haiti's not
Nations.
self-sufficient, brother.
brother, let me say this.
That's checkmate. Go ahead, brother. I'm
Uh,
listening.
That's not a checkmate. Go right ahead.
okay, as Dr. Lumumba already reiterated multiple times, Western influence, Western imperialists undermining Haiti's sovereignty. Let
You
me
got to
ask you this.
fight back and win.
Okay, let me ask you this question, Mr.
Yeah, I'm
Hoodoo.
listening.
Let me ask you
Go
this
ahead.
question. Do you believe that Western influence and Western imperialists undermine Black Americans in the United States of America?
Definitely.
Oh, okay. So you don't do you believe that they do the same thing in Haiti?
Definitely. And you got to fight back against it and win. Don't run away.
Oh, so what you're saying is the as to the state of Black Americans in the United States of America, they're continuously
I
fighting
agree.
to this day.
I
So
agree.
you saying that because Haiti's fighting, you don't think Haiti's fighting to this day? Is that what you're
You
saying?
you ran to the U.S. No, you're not fighting.
Well,
The
How do
Haitians
you?
first
in
and
Haiti.
foremost,
Let me answer
How
stop,
do
that.
you?
The
stop, stop,
Haitians.
stop. That's not true. Only,
Don't be
only
triggered.
two
Exactly.
percent,
Let me answer this
only two
guy.
percent.
Let him
Like I
answer.
said, and stop, because I will kick you off the show. I said it at the top of my show. I don't allow people to make claims that are adverse to facts. Haiti has a population of 12 million. There's only about
Yeah.
Exactly.
300,000 people who don't live in Haiti
And that's what I'm
throughout the
addressing. I'm
world.
addressing the ones that ran.
Right? No, you're not. Once again, we're going to have a problem here because you keep moving the goalposts. Right?
The
What
ones
I'm
Yeah.
that ran
saying,
is who I'm addressing.
well, you're not. They didn't run.
He's on the panel. He
This-
ran.
this-
He's in the
So let me
U.S.
ask you a question.
No.
We're
Yes, I'm
not going to
listening,
do
brother.
this.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
No, it's okay because you're not having a conversation in good faith and you're not being productive.
This
Right?
is
Our
great
goal
faith.
is
I'm
to
saying
help.
this with love,
Our
but go ahead.
goal, no, it's not love. Right? Our goal is to do what? Help our brothers and sisters in whatever way they can. Because Haiti has been attacked by Western powers since they declared their independence. This is a reality. Whenever there is really perceived black progress, it's followed by periods of what? Yes, I have read the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman. It's been followed by periods of what? Um, of racial retrenchment.
Racial,
This is the
which,
reality.
yeah, exactly.
With
Reconstruction.
retrenchment.
Same thing
The
happened
same thing
here.
happened here in the United States. So
Yeah.
you say that
Good.
you know that the American government works to undermine the black community, but we also work and pay taxes as well. There's no way to get out of that. If you are in this country and you work, you
Yes.
have to pay taxes.
But we're
There's
from
no way
here. We
around
didn't
it.
run here. It's a big
Oh,
difference.
Well,
Go ahead.
okay. Wait. So,
it's immaterial. It's immaterial. People move.
No, it's material. Our
People get out
homeland is
there.
here. Theirs is in Haiti. I'm
there
People.
are people.
So
Go ahead.
what you're saying is you have a problem with Haitians living in America.
No, I said I have a problem with Haitians fleeing Haiti instead of fixing Haiti, brother. Are you not
So,
listening?
So how
so
is Haiti,
hold
how
on.
is Haiti bothering you? Stop. Hold on, I got this. How is
When did
Haiti
I say Haiti
bothering
was
you?
bothering me?
Well,
You
because
cannot
you don't have
mischaracterize
a
me.
problem with them living here.
No, I'm tired of y'all
If Haiti
crying.
isn't bothering you, if Haitian people are bothering you, then why do you have a problem
No, I'm
with
tired
them
of y'all
living here?
crying. Go fix the problem. Stop running.
Who
The
is
That's all I'm
the
running?
saying.
quad.
But can I talk to the Haitian brother? It'll be brief.
Go ahead.
Brother, you said
Let
you
him
said
talk.
I'm
Go
not going
ahead.
to insult you. I'm not going to insult you,
You
bro.
can
You
insult
see,
me all you want. That's fine. I
okay,
mean,
but let's have a
that's
dialogue,
your
brother.
place.
You seem
One
relatively
mic, one mic.
intelligent. Don't you realize whatever you're doing in the U.S., you could be doing that in Haiti, benefiting Haiti? Don't you realize
What
that?
What makes you
Let me
think
ask
that
you a question.
that
Have
I'm
you ever
not
been to
doing
Haiti?
both?
Hold on,
Exactly.
wait.
Let
Have
me
you ever
answer
been
him.
to
Let me answer.
Haiti?
Say it again.
Have you ever been to Haiti?
Yeah, I went on a damn with an HBCU. I went down there, gave out sanitary wipes, water, toilet paper. Yeah, I've been to Port-au-Prince back in '07.
Okay.
Yeah,
Back
I've
in
been down there.
'07.
All right, so
Okay.
to the brother, don't you realize I'm not insulting you? You seem intelligent, bro. Whatever job you're doing in the U.S., you could be doing that in Haiti, helping your people, brother. Paying
But
taxes in Haiti, brother.
okay,
Don't you
listen,
realize that?
okay, can I answer your
Hey,
question? Are
well,
you
hold
are
on.
you
Yes,
ready
sir.
to listen?
Paying taxes doesn't address
Bro, let him
racial
answer.
interference
I'm trying to
in
wake him
Haitian
up.
society.
No,
Hold
let him
on.
speak,
No,
Dr.
stop,
Lumumba.
stop, stop, stop. I got this. Because you keep not wanting to address the actual what? The elephant in the room. You can pay all the taxes you want. That doesn't change the fact that Western imperialists are smuggling weapons to the country and fomenting violence and civil unrest.
I agree. I'm gonna ask you, how do you get the? No, I'm addressing head on.
Hold on. And here's the other issue that we find. While you talk about crime, those are white nationalists talking for us. Because the same thing was said about us during the civil rights and Black Power movement. The same thing was said about us during Reconstruction when we complained
And we never
about
ran
how we
away.
were treated by the government.
And we never ran.
Don't cut me off. When
We never ran away.
actually, that's what the first and second Great Migration was. And secondly, what you're saying
That's
is
the same
true,
country.
'cause there's a long,
Checkmate.
first off,
That's the same country.
Stop cutting me off. The second issue is
We never left the country.
There are second. Yes, we did. There's a long history of
Now in mass numbers,
Yes,
it's
we
less
did.
than 5,000.
Stop cutting me off. This is my
Brother, don't be
platform.
emotional.
I'm not being emotional. I just told
You
you. I'm
are,
cutting you off
brother.
being a platform. There's a long history of African Americans repatriating to Africa since Paul.
Less than 10,000.
There's a great
But
book on the
but
subject matter titled
Less than 10,000.
you keep saying
Okay,
let's
you
go ahead.
keep cutting me off, so we're gonna finish this.
Well, brother,
Okay.
Hoodoo, man, that's
Yes.
unfortunate because you want listen. Um, the issue is, uh, 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 brother Hoodoo, you've got to put it all
No, it's
together.
okay. Look, I'm not gonna keep playing those games. As I stated, Robert Johnson wrote a book. My bachelor's degree thesis was on the subject matter. Okay, Robert Johnson, Why African Americans Left America for Africa. Every generation since Paul Kufi, African Americans have left this country and repatriated to Africa. The first repatriation goal was Haiti, right? So when people are making these claims, they just adverse the facts. Matter of fact, nearly 10,000 African Americans went to Haiti alone, led by Dr. James T. Holly. So the claims he's making are false, right? But these are the same claims that FBA members make. Well, you're running and so on and so forth. We never ran, and that's not true. You had African Americans who moved to Canada, part of the Underground Railroad, right? Matter of fact, in the 1840s, when they had the National Black Convention led by Martin Delany, when they passed the Fugitive Slave Act at the convention, they said, okay, we have to get out of this country. What country are we going to move to? And they said, okay, we're going to move to Canada. So the claims he's making is ahistorical. I have a problem with that. Like I said, you can't come on my platform and say things that aren't true. It hurts my credibility as a scholar and as a professional and as an academic. It's just what he's saying isn't true. Yes, the African American scholar Howard Dotson has documented the historical legacy of African Americans migrating to the Caribbean, Canada, and Africa. What are we talking about here? Yeah, what are we talking about here? Right? So, like I said, the claims they made up. This is something people do throughout the world. They move to another country. We've historically done this as African American people. But like I said, he's a bullshit artist, and I'm going to tell you why. Because he doesn't want to address the real issue. American imperialism. You could go there and pay taxes all you want. It doesn't change the fact that the American government is smuggling weapons into the country and paying people to be violent, to kill our political opponents of American imperialism. It doesn't change that issue. You see what I'm saying? So this is some of the nonsense we're getting from people who identify as FBA and ADOS. They don't want to address the real issue. We can all work in our communities, send our children to school, but it doesn't change the fact that what? The police come in and do what? Kill us and we're unarmed? Plant drugs on people? That don't change anything. We could be doing everything right. Basically, articulately unopinionated, but not articulately educated. So this is a problem. And I created my platform in 2020. I do not allow people to come on my platform and make claims that are false. I don't allow it. And I never will, because that's not what I'm about. If we were in person, I'm like, man, get up out of here. Man, get this clown up out of here.
Yeah, it's I
Right?
yeah,
But like
but
I
that
said, the issue is when we ask them, how do you address the issue in Haiti? It's extremely simplistic, but they just need to move back there and pay taxes. Okay, fine. But that doesn't address the crux of the issue, that Haiti's sovereignty has been undermined since 1804, and that Western imperialist nations are smuggling weapons and paying people to engage in this hyper-violence so that they can engage in what's known as disaster capitalism and take over the country. No one talks about the fact that I think it was Hillary Clinton went down to Haiti and went during the Obama presidency because she was Secretary of State and overturned the results of a legally democratic election because the person they wanted to win the election didn't win. Going there and paying taxes doesn't address that issue. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, these are surface level arguments. Surface level arguments. Because he doesn't know what he's actually talking about. I have a problem with that. I have a problem. So then he says, well, they're crying. Well, no, that's the same thing white people said when we was doing the civil rights movement. You're just crying. You just want to be a victim. Even though we actually were being victimized. But when you say something about being victimized and now it's something, you're a punk, you're a coward. What type of sense does that make? That's like someone being a victim of SA, and then they report it to the police. The police officer say, well, you just want to be a victim. Why didn't you fight back? Well, the man he's much bigger than me. He's 6'3", 265 pounds. I'm 5'1", 110. Well, if you was a real woman, you would have just fought back. I don't have the physical capacity to overcome someone that's 3 times my size. This is the logic that we're talking about here. This is the logic. You see what I'm talking about? And these are individuals that think they're actually smart, think they're actually doing something to benefit our people. Right? And the reason why many global nations in the global south are poor, impoverished, and lack the level of industrialization in the global north is due to Western imperialism. When they have a head of state, right? Who Maurice Bishop, for example, who says, okay, we actually going to develop the nation. They said, we just going to kill your ass. Am I right or wrong, Mr. Sandman? Am I right or wrong, Mr. K? They just kill you and put a puppet in place and keep things going the way they were so that you depended on us so that we can have what? Global hegemony. We're talking about the Monroe Doctrine right here. Am I right or wrong?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we're talking about the Monroe Doctrine. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the Monroe Doctrine because
That's from that point forward, it was basically decided that the U.S. was going to control the entire affairs of all sovereign nations on this Western Hemisphere.
Right.
But I don't know.
Another example would be the Banana Wars. I wrote an article on the Banana Wars on Medium.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, matter of fact, I'm gonna bring it up. The article I wrote about the history of U.S. military intervention in the Caribbean. Right, and it wasn't they weren't doing this for humanitarian reasons. They were doing this due to America's economic interest. I mean, this level of ignorance is just baffling. I'm sorry, family. I'm sorry. I mean, it's baffling. Voodoo just likes to focus on the symptoms, not the causes of the problems. Very much agree. So I got a question for you, Mr. K, and I want you to answer this question. Why won't you tap in and be part of the conversation? This is real. You have a lot of knowledge. Why do you refuse to tap in and be part of the convo? I need to know that. So if you could please let me know that in the chat, it'd be greatly appreciated. Okay. Let's see here. I can find. Yeah, this article that I wrote. It's a while back. Let's see here. But definitely want to hear from you all regarding that issue. Okay, here we go. Examining the Banana Wars. History of U.S. imperialism. Let's see here. Yeah, so here we go. Examining the Banana Wars, a brief history of U.S. imperialism in the Caribbean. Okay, got it. So we see this is a political cartoon depicting Theodore Roosevelt's big stick ideology. Right. Okay, Mr. Wright, your ends. Give me 1 second. So as we can see here, say America. So we talk about So, for example, consider the Banana Wars, a term popularized by 1983 by writer Lester D. Langley in his books The United States and the Caribbean, 1900 and 1970, and the Banana Wars, an inner history of American empire, 1900 1934, where he talks about, of course, this so-called good neighbor policy, where there was a series of conflicts that consisted of imperious military occupation, police action, and intervention by the United States in Central America and the Caribbean. Of course, and the goal was to advance U.S. economic, political, and military standing. So something to consider there. But so, Mr. Wright, I know you're just tapping in, but one of the things I had to kick someone off the show. So he was going in on Haiti, talking about, the real issue is they're just running, they're just fleeing, but he wanted to focus on the symptoms and not the cause of the problem. He said they should go back and pay taxes in Haiti. But I said paying taxes doesn't address the issue of Western imperialism and the Western powers smuggling weapons to criminal gangs, paramilitary organizations, and paying them to engage in violence against the Haitian citizens. What do you say to that? What are your views on people focusing on the symptoms and not the cause of the problem? Mr. Wright.
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, just to chime in, I believe these issues are way more complex. And you need to look at the bigger picture, right? In terms of, in order to get a full scope, you have to go back, right? You have to go back into history and learn about what actually happened before you just make a broad statement, right? About an island or a country such as Haiti. Haiti is unique because it has a very different history than most other countries in the diaspora, right? So, and it has very complex issues in terms of exactly what you mentioned, colonialism, and the UN has had issues with Haiti. You take a look at the Monroe Doctrine, right? Not even just Haiti, but all the countries on the Western Hemisphere below North America. The same thing took place, including Hawaii. Hawaii's not in the Western Hemisphere, but same thing kind of happened. So, talk about paying taxes. That's not going to solve the problems. Not to mention, North America is directly responsible for the quagmire of Haiti. So I for the life of me, I just don't understand why anyone that's black would take that position. It just blows my mind. This means that someone is extremely ignorant, right, and miseducated on history. Okay, but then you factor in Haiti has opened its arms up to African Americans historically. We've spoken about this.
Yeah.
Right. When we were going through our situations in America, they invited us down. So I think it's only right to return the favor. We should support our Haitian brothers and sisters, Yeah. That's my whole take on it. Not even just Haiti, but anyone that's black globally. And you start to take a look at the way white supremacy works. White supremacy is a team effort. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a global issue, and I'm one of those people. I like to look at things from a global perspective versus just my neighborhood, my state, my city, my country, my hood. We have to look at things from a global perspective because it gives you a much broader way of looking at things, and you start to see, hey, you know what? We're actually going through the same things in different countries. It's actually the same, So, and once you put that in perspective, we'll start to look at each other differently. And I've mentioned to you before that, we're actually fighting a demographic battle. And this is the whole reason why. Well, yeah, because you start to see a lot of white nationalists, you start to see a push for white nationalism. It's becoming more popular, more prevalent, not even just political, just with the average everyday person. And they realizing, hey, we're starting to become a minority in our own countries, not even just America. Same things taking place in Europe, right?
Right.
So they're like, we need to push back on these non-white people coming into our countries. But the real issue is they're not reproducing enough. So the first people they're going to kick out, or first people they're going to crack down on, is always us. So
Yeah, these
um,
individuals are considered socially and politically undesirable, and no one is considered more socially and politically undesirable than Black people. That's just the reality. We find that
Mm.
throughout the
that's
world.
well, yeah, and this is one of the reasons why it will be beneficial for us to, you know, embrace Pan Africanism, because wherever we are on the globe, we can be in lockstep. We're working together, united. You're way more powerful that way. This is the way
Mm.
Jewish people operate. This is the way Chinese people operate. I just told you, this is the way white European people operate. Okay? This is a team effort. But when we're
Right.
divided,
And
you
very,
know,
very quickly, I'm going to speak to that point that you just made. I'm glad you brought that up. So this is the Neferkari Dessalines. He's a YouTuber from Haiti of Haitian extraction. So shout out to him, South Passe, right? He states here, United States diplomats currently in South Africa meeting with the white South African separatist groups who want to establish their own independent nation in South Africa, right?
Damn.
So he says, since many believe that tribalism is the superior ideology, I wish them the best in their endeavors. However, they can show the rest of us idiot Pan-Africanists, right, how it's done. And hopefully they can successfully defend themselves against a coalition of united enemies. As for me, I'm just a dumb foreigner. Good luck, brother. So we see here the U.S. ambassador to the Republic of South Africa meeting and with from the Solidarity Movement, AfroForum, Solidarity, SAAI, all these, of course, fringe Africana white separatist groups, right? And so this is an example of what Mr. Wright was speaking to, that what? The other groups of people, they understand the importance of working together globally.
yeah, absolutely. This is what's going to start to happen more often. They're going to start showing up into places we call our territory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to start seizing land. They're going to get involved with politics. They're going to start businesses because life is cheaper in these countries. And they're going to take their wealth, their resources there. And just the same way they did in Hawaii, right? Same way in New Zealand, same operation. But you're going to see that happen more and more over time. But obviously, when you have guys like, you know, Toure in Burkina Faso, right? Ibrahim Toure,
Yes.
you know, he's removing himself from, you know, French power, right? Removing Burkina Faso from French colonialism. So that's a step in the right direction. Okay. But yeah, I think before we can make any significant moves, we need to it needs to be a mental, psychological unification globally for Black people. You know, we need to learn to fellowship with each other first, and then we can start to work together, network, build relationships. You know, because and I want to touch back on what I mentioned earlier. You know, demographics matter.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could I make one? Can I make one example of someone I had a conversation with? I had a conversation with a buddy of mine from California. He mentioned how, you know, the only reason why you see Black success in Georgia is because there's a lot of Black people there. And he spoke about that in a pejorative way, but I actually said that's a good thing, because the more of your people that's in power, the more of your people that's involved in politics and business, the more they can help other Black people, right? The more they can give opportunities to other Black people. One example will be Bowie, Maryland. Bowie, Maryland is an affluent Black, predominantly Black suburban city outside of DC, right? They have high Black home ownership, right? The net worth is relatively high compared to other cities. Another example would be Fairborn, Georgia, Missouri City, Texas, right? So when you have a certain group of people in power, they tend to want to give more opportunities to people that's of their same race or ethnicity. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes, and thank you for mentioning Bowie. I actually live in the Bowie area, but just a slight correction. It's technically Upper Marbles where you see very affluent black people with the mansions and that area. Sorry, that's all. Thank you.
Oh, really? Upper Marlboro, Maryland?
Oh yes, Fort Washington, Accokeek. Yeah, that area, Upper Marble. Yep. These places
Really?
were once plantations, and now affluent black people live there. Yes.
Now, is this all considered PG County?
Yes, all this is considered Prince George's County. Yes.
Very interesting. I notice a lot of these areas don't get mentioned when people reference black fatigue. It's always just, low class, dysfunctional black communities, right? That suffer from years of marginalization. But no one likes to talk about black success in the greater DC area or Atlanta, or you could throw in Houston or Charlotte. But these places do exist.
I think those people who speak about black people in that way have an agenda, which is very
Exactly.
Right.
I agree 100%.
So,
But the
very
reason why I
quickly,
mentioned, okay,
real quick,
sorry.
Sister Michelle, I know you've been waiting patiently. Want to get your thoughts on the topic of today's show.
Oh, okay. I was vibing with Mr. Right 2026. Good point, brother. I appreciate it. But something I just want to revert to um, when we speak about Pan Africanism. I think we're trying to build culture and unity on skin color, shared history, but identity doesn't pay the bills. Pride cannot fight
Hmm.
like IMF. The increase in price in bread. A song won't stop. Currency manipulation. So there's a lot
Right.
of global issues we gotta attend to,
And I
even in
mentioned that,
family
yeah.
system. As much as I love you, because I work in human services, how much I may love my family member, yes, I may put up with them for a day or two, but my electricity bill's gonna go up, food bill's gonna go up. Who's gonna address those needs? Yeah, I love you, but who's gonna address the day to day needs as we evolve as a people? And so the issue, like you said, with the Haitian immigrant situation and what's happened with us in the Black American um, um, demographic here is Black Americans still have unresolved matters, and then the Haitians also, not their fault, also have matters that need to be addressed. But however, America needs that labor because I work here in the DC area. Is the Afro Caribbeans that are in the nursing homes, that are in the
Yeah.
hospitals, that are doing the care industry. So a lot of them, those Haitian TPS workers, if it wasn't for them, a lot of these nursing homes would be closed down here in the DC area because they're the
Yeah,
main ones.
it's the same here in Ohio. Same here in Ohio. They typically, I mean, they are in large number in the pink collar industry. Real quick, so I see this quote from I Am the Storm. And this is an example we talk about with individuals that identify as FBA and ADOS, not having an actual plan to engage in actions that help our community, but just promote anti-black rhetoric. So look here, it says you have said nothing about those less fortunate boy, buy tethers, please tether on. So this is what we tend to find, right? Just anti-black immigrant rhetoric, nothing constructive. They're not doing anything to better their community, social, politically, economically, right? But they just like to go in, as Mr. Wright says, punch down rather than punch up. But we definitely know that if it was a white person on this panel, you'd probably be kissing their feet.
Yeah, all that really is self-hatred. Um, and it's really brainwashing because like you're right, like it is really just punching down instead of punching up. This rhetoric to turn on your brothers and sisters in the diaspora versus calling out the real person that's pulling the strings, right? um and is it Michelle? um who
Yes.
who was just talking before? Michelle? Yeah, you made a great point. I like when you said there are economic issues that need to be addressed in terms of building wealth and nation building. A lot of people don't know, actually, in Durham, North Carolina, there was self-sufficient black community, and it was actually called Haiti, right? Um and and that's one of the things we need to realize, that um the world is becoming a smaller place. People are migrating. The white race, their birth rates are low. places are going to start to become way more multicultural. What does that mean for Black people? Black people absolutely have to unite. We're going to have to do business with each other. We're going to have to invest with each other. We're going to have to build. We're going to have to do it based on our Blackness, just like white folk. When they were bringing immigrants into America, right? They were bringing European immigrants into this country. You know, with the Homestead Act, they were giving them like free land. You know,
Mr.
so
Wright, if I may interject,
what's that?
if I may interject, Mr. Wright, you said free land. That's the economic anchor.
Right. Exactly was.
Go right ahead, y'all.
But did we get our 40 acres and a mule? No. But, you know, as Black people, in the midst of this demographic war, you know, it's going to be mandatory that we stick together, whether you're from the continent, whether you're from the Caribbean, right? And I think Afro-Americans, we put ourselves in a really bad position by turning against our brothers. I mean, it just makes us more vulnerable. And you honestly believe you're going to get some brownie points from white America because you're doing that? No, you're not. They're going to turn on you eventually. You know, I mean, the same people that you're supporting wouldn't dare give you reparations. Why would they? You know, they say you don't need it. You're not owed that. Who cares? But you come right around and what's that?
Yeah, but my issue, I do believe we deserve reparations, but it's not even an organized discussion.
Yeah, At this point, well, no one's going to give us anything. They're going to have to do it.
Like we can make them do it, but again, but we're not organized to make them do it. That's my issue.
Exactly. Yeah, we're far from that. We're divided politically. You know, no one's going to do anything unless they have to. You know, so
Yep.
I guarantee you, if we hoarded our vote, like we're not voting Republican, we're not voting Democrat, they're like, okay, we need to address this reparations because we want their vote, so we got to give them something. So that's how that's going to get played.
Roland's going to snap his fingers, wag his tail at us, and, and let us have it.
That's true. That's true. And you know, Roland, I think his studio is in the DMV.
Yeah, he's in DC, but lives all the way in Loudoun County.
Okay.
Yeah, he's another county. He'll be wagging his finger. That's why I get a little flustered with him sometimes.
Well, if you look at the way Jewish people operate, I like to reference Jewish people because I believe their response to white hegemony is the way we should respond in terms of power. Right now, they're creating a greater Israel project. You know, they're expanding eastward. And, you know, they're gobbling up more territory. They want to destabilize the Middle East as much as possible, you know, enrich themselves, empower themselves over time, increase their demographics. You know, it doesn't matter where they are on the planet. A Jewish person could be in Argentina. They can be in Tel Aviv. They can be in New York. They can be in London. They're all on the same page. Understand? See how that works? They're all on the same page. Globally. This makes you very powerful.
Yes, it does. But may I say something? But also, you got to say the Jewish community, segments of the Jewish community have made money extracted from the Black community, and particularly the music industry from us. Because they get royalties. They get nice royalty checks. Okay.
Well, Jewish people, they have their tentacles in just about every industry you can think of.
Well,
but yes,
that's
you're right.
because they understand the nature of nation building. They've been people on the run for quite some time, for millennia, you know, since the 700th century and so on and so forth. I'm not gonna get too far into that history. However, I want to say this about nation building because you know, the issue with nation building, nation sustainment, as to why, you know, they continue, why the United States continue to put barriers and obstacle to this issue of reparation to Black Americans is because it knows that it has a debt to pay, and if it were to pay that debt, that there would be a lot of people in tears, other people groups, right, in tears, particularly the dominant society. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you're correct. I agree. If they paid that debt, then who's to say anyone else in the diaspora would, demand their colony pay debts for their transgressions historically. And not to mention, this is the way white supremacy works. They're never going to close that wealth gap. White America has 6 to 8 times more wealth than Black America. Not double,
Hmm.
not triple, not quadruple. 6 to 8 times more wealth. Now, what do they tell us? They tell us the issues that we have in Black America are religious based or morality based, right? You could just be a good person and these are going to change. This is going to change the issues. They never talk about economics. They never talk about empowerment. They do that for a reason. Or they say it's political based. If you just switch over to a Republican Party, you wouldn't have these issues, right?
Yep.
How about you close the wealth gap? Reparations would do that. And like the sister mentioned earlier, Upper Marlboro, Maryland, take a look at the socioeconomic status of the Black people in those communities. Do you see a lot of the issues that you would see in somewhere like Baltimore on the lower socioeconomic end of the city of Baltimore? You don't see those issues there. Why?
But may I say something? Even though you may have families who live in Upper who are very well to do, their cousins aren't doing so well, if you know what I'm trying to say. You could have a white family and generations of them are doing quite all right. But the Black families here in the DC metropolitan area, they may have a cousin, maybe 1 or 2 removed, who's living more in District Heights or living in the city itself or being pushed out to Baltimore. Again, because if you really peel those family lines, you'll see where the gaps are. But however, they as an individual are doing well. So I get it, but we as a people really need to look at ourselves as a collective because we were all casualties of the war on drugs. I have an uncle, he died many years ago, but he was taken by the substance use back in the 80s. But my parents did well, but they had to sometimes go into the city and get him because the police called and, all those issues. I had a lady, I worked with a lady, all her brothers are in jail, but she is a top level government contractor, but all her brothers are in jail.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And in DC, you mentioned DC.
We're so close to DC. Like they started off like like that particular lady I'm thinking of, she grew up in Northeast. What happened with her? She was actually even a teen mom, but old school family system. When she had the baby, the family took her child and raised the child so she can go to school and she was able to get her career and life together. Because if the family member did not take her child, she even said, I probably would have gotten caught up too.
Okay. Are you familiar with U Street area?
Yes, U Street area, not too far from Howard University. They it's very gentrified now. Very gentrified.
Wow.
Yeah, that was U Street was the predominantly Black business district of Washington D.C. historically. That was basically bulldozed through urban renewal projects.
Oh yeah, UDC's down there. There's Chili Bowls in that area. Yeah, a lot of Black businesses. And there was an incident where a Black business owner, and he had some issues, and he was caught saying some things. Yeah. But now it's being so gentrified.
Well, I was going to say that was our version of Little Korea or, Little Chinatown or Little Italy. But through public policy was, destroyed. And, you see Black America today and, we don't have wealth that can compete with other racial groups. And that's directly related. So, yeah, you're right. There are economic issues that we have to address. But, we're fighting up against a juggernaut, right? White supremacy is a juggernaut. So, and on top of that, we have people on our side that seem to be on our side, but they're actually fighting for the other side. They're on the other team, but they got on our uniform.
But real quick, we want to go ahead. Go ahead, Michelle. Go ahead.
Well, let's look at popular culture right now. The biggest song in America now is called "Spend That."
I mean, so Michelle, you gonna spend that or what? You know what I'm saying? You won't get no money and you can't get the job done, young. Where all my scamming ass at? Where my scamming shorties at? Put that in the air. You know what I'm saying? but real quick, I'll just make sure we recenter the conversation around of Haiti and what the general public and of course FBA, ADOS gets wrong about Haiti?
Can I give respect to Haiti in terms of when they got independence? And one of the claims that Black people in America are saying that Africa, once slavery ended or whatever, they never came back to Africa because they didn't have ships. Haiti had the ships. Haiti was ready to fund Black liberation, but it was infiltrated. Nobody wants to talk about that history. They want to go ahead and throw Black people under the bus. Haiti would have liberated a whole bunch of more black countries and Black societies, but they were infiltrated themselves. So
Well,
therefore,
yeah, well, Haiti did fund a number of revolutionary movements, right? In the what many people would now call the global South. We also know that during the reign of King Henry Christophe in the northern part of Haiti, he actually had a navy, and they were out on the open seas capturing slaving vessels and liberating enslaved Africans on transatlantic slaving vessels and bringing them to Haiti. So that's something that they did do. But once
Yeah,
again, most
exactly.
people don't.
but then,
actually
but why
know
doesn't
history.
this is my issue for my FBA family? Why don't they recognize that history? Black people, we do look after each other when we're able to,
Well,
when
but
we're not.
the reason why they're not going to talk about that because it doesn't fit their talking point. It's not congruent to their talking point. Like
They
we had,
haven't
I don't know
studied enough.
how long you've been watching the show, Sister Michelle, but Brother Livneska, and appreciate the Cash App and Mr. Wright. We had an individual on here. He just kept talking bad about Haiti. I said, well, what have they done to you? Nothing. Well, how is Haiti bothering you? Nothing. But he just would consistently speak negatively about Haiti and Haitian people. Right?
And that's
I
without
asked him, I said, if you were a head of state, if you were the president of Haiti, what would you do to to fix the issues in Haiti? He says, well, I would create policies to actually, he said, I would create policies to bring the Haitian diaspora back home. I said, well, that's already been done. But that doesn't address the fact that Western imperialist nations are smuggling weapons and paying people to engage in terroristic activity against Haitian civilians. And he wouldn't address the issue.
Yeah, I think
So
he
once again,
couldn't. I
what we
think you
tend to
went over
find is
his head.
they like to deal with the symptom and not the problem. And it doesn't matter how long you talk to them. You can talk to you blue in the face, as my parents would say. They don't care. They won't move off that position. What's Sony and Garvey? What's the word?
What's going on, family? I appreciate this conversation here. And before I continue, I want to say sacrifice to all the original men and women in the chat. I apologize for coming this
no
late.
I'm not Haitian, but I know the response. No boule.
That's great. That's great. And unfortunately, this is a conversation that's happening. I think we all know, or we can all agree, that we clearly have bigger fish to fry, and this secretarian foolishness. I jape by saying that I hope and pray that the CIA is behind it, because if it isn't, then it truly shows how divided we are as a people. And, if we call ourselves the original men and women, yes, human beings will always find a reason, no matter how minute, to separate themselves. But the fact you have an open white supremacist administration that is robbing this country blind in broad daylight, and then we have people that's going back and forth with this foolishness. It's truly heartbreaking. My parents are from Haiti.
Okay.
I was born in Boston, and
Shout out to Bingtown. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're from Chelsea. So yes, sir. And I basically moved down here to Florida when the hot boys were hot. And this almost reminds me, and I don't want to name drop because I don't want to set trip, but this almost reminds me of what Brother Jared Ball has said. He said, I've never been a part of these sinister Jewish conspiracies that people are talking about, and that applies for me as well. I think one of the things that really grinded my gear online is I don't know if I want to call it a psychosis, but I remember reading online, it was on YouTube. There was this woman, I assume she's an African American. They're in line at a gas station. People are trying, where everybody's in line. And she said that I guess there was this Haitian person that was on the phone. Listen to the insanity. And he said, and she said that he spoke loudly to let everybody know in line that he was not an African American. This is absolutely stunning here. And again, it's sad because as you know, and everybody, I would presume others know, Haiti has allowed not only African Americans, but when independence happened, they basically said, we can't return to Guinea, but this is our Guinea. And Haiti was supposed to be a haven for all African people. So when I see this, for me, an imaginary beef, we're not talking about people in the streets. We're not talking about dope boys. We're not talking about shooters. We're not talking about gangbangers. It is what it is. It happens. But when you're talking about just regular human beings going back and forth for something, I want to say trivial, but I don't know what to be trivial about. Again, it's really heartbroken, and I don't know. I don't know where we go from this point. They are a small but very vocal minority, and I mean the deriding I'm seeing for these right wing grifters. I don't know. I truly don't know. I've always said this. My mother, she did not critique African American culture. If she critiqued anything African American, it was my current generation, which is millennials. But she basically spoke like Bill Cosby. It was really that simple. And that's really all it is. And as another African person, I too feel some type of way when I hear other people, Haitian or not, saying that African Americans don't have any culture. Just thinking about the Gullah Geechee. When I was young, they had that TV show on Nickelodeon, Gullah Gullah Island. You don't know what you have until it's gone. So yes, again, I can understand why someone would feel some type of way, but it truly isn't that deep. When I'm around Haitian, Caribbean, African people from the continent, there isn't this conspiratorial, hey, these African Americans this or blah blah that, no more than anybody else. And for example, I'm listening about the Civil War, some of these podcasts, and I'm listening to what African people had to go to before, during, and after. And it's like I hear more issues about what the diaspora is doing now in America than the injustices that happen to African people. So I've already spoke too much. Again, I appreciate all the time you guys allotted me to speak, and I'll go ahead and close my mouth. Thank you.
Well, real quick, brother. First off, I want to just say thank you for your soliloquy. Number two, I've stated this, so this isn't hyperbole. Anyone who knows my work, particularly my writings on Medium, when I say this, I believe Haitian people are the greatest group of African people on the planet Earth. What you all were able to do over the course of 13 years, insurmountable odds and achieve what considered unachievable, create the first Black Republic in the Western Hemisphere, and defeat not only the French, the British, the English, the British, the Spanish, and the French in succession, is absolutely, I think, remarkable and should always be something that we take pride of as African people, particularly those of us who are in the Western Hemisphere. But my second question, but my question is, as a member of the Haitian diaspora, two questions. One, what can we do as concerned Africans in the Western Hemisphere to help Haiti? And two, what do you believe? I appreciate the super chat. What can we do to help Haiti finally gain true and actual sovereignty? We know historically Haiti's sovereignty has been undermined since Dessalines declared independence, right? January 1, 1804, right? What can we do as concerned African people in the Western world to help Haiti finally gain sovereignty over its politics, its economics, and civil society?
So I'm going to answer that directly by giving you an indirect answer, but just follow me here. So okay. I travel to Colombia a lot. And obviously, well, not obviously, but when I always tell people, when I say Colombia, I'm not talking about where the mestizos are. I'm talking about where the African people are. I always say that Black Colombia, which is the Pacific region, is my surrogate Haiti, because it's obviously safer, unfortunately, to go there than it is to Haiti. Just follow me here. Now, I've been going to the African communities over there, and I'm not going to tell you anything that you brothers and sisters don't know. For anybody who's traveled, African communities throughout North, Central, and South America and the Caribbean are basically couple degrees, culturally speaking, from the continent. Just follow me here. Now, I've learned, or at least trying to learn Spanish. Okay, what does that mean in regards to the question you asked me? Just give me a little bit more time. So one way for me to test my Spanish, again, I'm in Florida, so it's very easy for me. I might either come up, I'll do air conditioning. So I might come across with a Spanish speaking person. Obviously the Spanish people or the Spaniards, most people are not Spaniards. And they'll tell me something, I'll hear the accent and I'll say something like claro. Claro means clear, basically a confirmation. And then they just go off because they presume, they don't assume at first, but they presume that, I'm one of them, or at least one of their Negroes or what have you. And I might say a couple words, a couple phrases or what have you. And then, again, they just go off. When they finally ask me that on the is, I will tell them, like, so Haitiano. And they'll be like, oh, okay. And even when they hear that I'm Haitian, they don't stop speaking Spanish. They continue to speak Spanish. You'll have some older ladies who give you that resting face until I say something, and then it just opens themselves up. And I mean, when I did residential, I would have soup, sancocho, all that good stuff. Obviously, the best sancocho is what Black people make in Colombia. Different countries for different time. So what I'm saying is just taking one step forward in the linguistic level opens everything up on a personal and cultural level. Make no mistake about it. I am not saying that there isn't any racism or what have you, but what I'm showing is just by saying a few words, just by speaking of my experience, it brings people closer, whether superficial or not. Am I saying that brothers and sisters need to learn Creole? No, but when somebody from Haiti who hasn't been here for 10, 20, 30, 40 years meets an African American that just says a few words, it opens them up. And even when I was in Colombia, I would always say this: I would be around the wolves and the lions. The reason why I've never been robbed is not because I'm a goon. It's because they would be surprised when I tell them I'm an American. So now I got these jack boys looking at me like Like, bro, why are you here? They're so surprised and not even trying to run down on me. And I would just put my hand next to their hand. I'm like, yo, bro, we're black, right? Like, I didn't come here for mestizos. I didn't come here for the paisas. I came here for you because I'm you. Your mother looks like my mother. Your grandmother looks like my grandmother. We damn near eat the same thing. And they would feel it so much on a personal level. I could be taken to the community besides blending in, not have an issue. That's one aspect of it. You don't have to be a Pan-African to get closer to people, but I think we need to reiterate the Africanness between each other. Like, I would really love, the Gullah Geechee and, let's say, Haitians to get together because the strong cultural similarities, or at least the foundation of it. On a political level, that might be trending into somewhat perilous waters, only because now, you can do what we can connect on an ideological level, but there has to be a connection from the African communities in the United States to those in Haiti. Are you willing to go to Haiti? Are you willing to bring in a Haitian person, let's say to, any social area or college or what have you? Another big thing that some people don't think about, which is crazy because it applies to us to a church. Now, I'm a non-believer too. But I always say this: voodoo is our foolishness, and the Europeans' religious foolishness doesn't take precedent over ours, I should say. But let me be respectful for those who are believers. But how
real
much?
quick, brother, real quick, this is a platform where we believe in always betting on black, and so we don't believe in giving respect or credence to something that's nonsensical. So, and we don't. But here on my platform, we don't respect Abrahamic religions because they have a long history, not respect.
Thank you. Thank you. But that's even better. But, and again, it takes a lot. But just imagine just going to a Haitian church. Hey, my name is, let me be stereotypical. According to white people, my name is Tyrone Jackson. I'm from the Black Community Center, blah, 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 blah. We understand us as an African people, our resistance globally, whether they're Africans in Haiti and the United States. Obviously, there is history between us. And, I would like to strengthen it, and make no mistake about it too. Make no mistake about it.
And if I could, just because I want to kind of tie this up, what can we do to help address the issues in Haiti right now?
Continue what you're doing now. Yes, sir.
Yeah. What can we do to help?
Yeah, can I jump in? Because I'm gonna head out. I just want to say this piece to
Okay.
answer your question, Professor Lumumba, and then I'll jump out. Great conversation. Real quick, I want to say, um, as far as what can we do, that goes back to, I mean, the entire discussion is what can we do now, not only for Haiti, but for the entire Black people all over the globe, as to how do we get to work together? Because at the heart of your question, Professor Lumumba, what I'm hearing is how can we work together? How can we support in any way, shape, or form, even if it's just a word of encouragement, right? That's what I'm hearing from that question. Um, so I want to say, when I studied theology, I had to study systematic theology. When I studied education, I had to study pedagogy, curriculum instruction, and assessment. When I studied business or computer science, I had to study systems and computation. When I studied, finance and business, I had to study economic systems and financial theory. So my point is, systems thinking implies to every field of study. So let me just say this: economic, education, entertainment, health, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Your platform, your people know what I'm referring to. you know,
Yeah,
these
Dr.
areas of
Francis Cress
activities,
Wilson.
you know, exactly. And what's the other brother there who really created the theory? And then Francis Cress Wilson went and continued with it. He passed away earlier this year too. Oh man, I can't. But anyhow, these areas of activities, they funnel into knowing who we are, knowing how to do nation building. I mentioned that earlier. Nation building lies at the heart of this colonial project because wealth, economic empowerment is part of this, is part of what that's what they wanted to do. They want to own us and take everything we got. So I'm going to read What to the Slave is the 4th of July. That's my tradition. That's what I'm going to read with my beautiful wife, who's an
Mhm.
African American woman, you know, who's a black woman from the United States. I'm going to read that with her and our children. We're going to read Frederick Douglass, What to the Slave is the 4th of July. And he brings up
Real
the
quick, brother,
American hip hop.
what country are you from?
Oh, I grew up in Haiti, brother. I grew up born and raised in Haiti. And then I
Okay,
came
very
here.
good. Okay, Sao Passe, yes, sir.
Grazie
Nampule,
Boni.
Nampule.
Grazie
You
Boni.
know it.
Garon Mon. Garon Mon.
That's it. That's it.
And real quick, you know, I want to make you all aware of the store on my. Let me see if I can you all see this? Okay, there we go. You know, so YouTube, of course, Lumumba Speaks on YouTube. We have a store, and then one of the things that we have on here is we actually had the boys came in US bomber jacket, right?
Oh,
Definitely,
wow. Oh.
you know, like when I say I'm serious about putting on for the first Black Republic, you know, that the Avengers of the New World, I'm serious. So you had the boys came in bomber jacket
Yes, sir.
there. Of course, we have the okay, so Reclaim Who You Are, but Always Better on Black t-shirts, the Hank Aaron t-shirt, and then of course we had the Bet on Black iPhone cases. But just want to make you all aware on the store. So if you can go to the store at Lumumba Speaks on YouTube, and of course shop via drop shipping. But just want to make you all aware. When I say I'm really about that life, I'm really truly about that life.
Aye, Bobo.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. That's great. I will definitely patronize your store. So yeah, let me say this. So we're gonna read Frederick Douglass because he brings up the hypocrisy, the American hypocrisy, as to how they can celebrate, right? They can celebrate this greatness of liberty, prosperity, and you know, and yet they fail to do the basic thing by realizing that they build this on the labor and suffering of enslaved Black people here in the United States. So,
Right.
nation building, what can we do? History. We got to continue to teach our people economic history, which is why my brothers here and sisters here who call themselves FBA, I weep and lament over them because I realize that they are neglecting history. And this is a new
Yeah.
phenomenon because 50
Right.
years ago, this wasn't the case. The average Black person here in the United States had some inclination of their connection with the diaspora, with Haiti, with other countries. So I don't know what's happened with in the past 10, 15 years. This is a brand new thing. So what can we do? History. You know, I like to systematize it. I came here from Haiti. I have learned. I sat at the feet of many of my Black brothers and sisters who are Black Americans, and including you, Professor Lamamba, because all of you on the planet, Mr. Wright, you know, and the lady that was there.
Real quick, brother, you know, we prefer the term African Americans here at Lumumba Speaks, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay. Okay.
Because African Americans are the only racial ethnic group in this country that are identified by a color and not a geographic place of origin.
Excellent.
Right?
Okay.
So I prefer the term I am an African American, not a Black. I don't know anywhere called Black land, right? So I am a African American. And so once again, this is some of the knowledge that I was able to gain from Dr. Ali Missouri, his book, The Africans of Triple Heritage, that I believe was published in 1984. So,
I'm going to add that.
43 years ago, yeah. So, but very quickly, back family, before we close out, I would push everyone to, if you can, please go online, read Dr. Jemimia Pierre's book. She's a Haitian sister, by the way, professor at the University of British Columbia, titled Haiti as Empire's Laboratory, okay? And of course, the article, she discusses the United States and its allies push renewed foreign intervention, the uses and abuses of the First Black Republic as a testing ground of imperialism, offer stark warnings. Haiti still struggles to be free. So until next time, family, Y'all know what to do. I appreciate everyone for tapping in. We're going to try to make sure we're bringing in shows on a regular basis, right, for you all, but definitely appreciate everyone for tapping in. Until next time, family, y'all know what to do. And don't celebrate the 4th of July tomorrow. All right. Peace. Before you go, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you for supporting the channel. And remember, here at Lumumba Speaks, we always bet on black. Peace.